Frankie Allen, the UK's most feared comedian.
Where did the name Britain's most feared comedian even come from?
They wouldn't give me any work, the agents, but they'd give me work for a venue that nobody else would do. I mean, it can be a very rough profession. I can name you 5 comedians that have been really filled in, beaten up very badly. They'd phone me up, the agents, Frankie, got a job for you Saturday night, you're in Salford Precinct. They had a quiz night and the first question was, who are you looking at, you know? Nobody else would do these venues. So they used to give us a Frankie Allen because I could kind of handle them, you know.
Have you ever been in many fights?
Where were we? In Birmingham. All of a sudden I felt something on my legs. I thought, what the fuck's this? I thought I was having a stroke, you know, like pains in my legs. So this big fat fella, he picked me up, and he picked me up like that, like a chair, and went like that, and put me on his shoulders, and started running around the stage. So I was hanging onto his head for dear life, screaming, put me down, you fat. I'm picking on people in the audience straight away. Oh, Frankie, you've been having a go at, whatever his name was, this fella, Billy Seabiscuit or something. I said, yeah, who is he? He said, oh, he's the main gangster in town here. He's out with his dad. And you said something to his dad about a crematorium. And you started singing that song, Do Not Be Afraid, that they sing at funerals. I said, I'm only having a laugh. He said, oh, Frankie, be careful, you know. I said, fuck him. And I've been stabbed, and I lost a lot of blood, you know, been stabbed.
Do you ever think that it's not worth it?
No, I love it. Everywhere I was going was bringing a house down with my brand of comedy, which people might think it's over the top, but it gets results. Frankie Allen, UK's most feared comedian, do not come if easily offended.
Welcome back to the #1 podcast here in Liverpool. We're joined by the infamous...
Notorious.
The notorious, infamous Frankie Allen. Frankie, over to you. For those people who don't know who you are, tell us a bit about yourself.
But very few people don't know I am now.
Exactly, mate.
But I'm Frankie Allen, the UK's most feared comedian. I bring comedy to the crowd. I don't get heckled, or very rarely, only because I'm picking on people in the audience straight away before they have a chance to have a go at me. A lot of comics walk out on stage, they're telling gags, and they're kind of keeping their fingers crossed for the next hour that nobody ruins the show, nobody heckles them. But I kind of welcome it. I'm waiting, you see. I'm like, the analogy I could make, I'm like a Venus flytrap.
God,
sometimes I'll go on. I'm not saying I'll do it, I do kind of deliberately. I'll try and lead people into like maybe shouting something out, or mention something about local football club, if I'm in Liverpool, Everton or something. You'll get someone shouting out, then I can savage them then, you see. And then they're sorry. And what I do, then I'll tell a few more gags, a few more routines, then I'll go back to them. And then I won't leave them alone all night. So it's something that I've kind of cultivated over the years, and I've got it off to a fine art now.
So you're like a viewer's worst nightmare.
Not really, it's funny, because the way I do it, it comes across as being very funny.
Yeah.
And as you say, a lot of comics over the years that I kind of grew up with, even some comics these days, they're on a wing and a prayer when they're performing because they're kind of scared in case anything goes wrong. I mean, it can be a very rough profession, you know. I know a lot of comics. I can name you 5 comedians that have been really filled in, beaten up very badly.
Like what, from just making a joke?
Yeah,
or?
for being on stage. There's Jimmy Carroll, very good friend of mine. He was beaten up on stage and he's never recovered. He'll never work again. Gary George, another guy. This was in Benidorm. Both of them were in Benidorm, but British audiences. Fella just walked up, he says something, knocked all his teeth out at the side of his face. Lester Crabtree, somebody assaulted him and he was in Manchester. Me, I've been beaten up. I mean, it's a weird thing. People see comedians on the TV, but they don't know the backstory to actually what goes on behind the scenes or actually on the stage. People can be very weird and very strange. You mention anything that's a little bit contentious, you'll get someone shouting out, my brother has got brown eyes. How dare you?
Yeah. I
know a friend of mine a few years ago, I won't mention his name because he's not here anymore, he passed away. He was doing a job in Catterick. It was up the barracks in North Yorkshire, which I've done. I could be a little bit rough and whatever, and he mentioned something, and it was a very kind of like black tie, very tuxedos and all in uniform, very kind of posh thing, you know. And he said something, all he said was, what do you think of the people up in Middlesbrough? This fella kicked off, but very far back. How dare you insult any people from the northeast? And ran and grabbed him, started pulling him all over the stage. So a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah. What does go on behind the scenes?
What goes on behind the scenes? If we can go back a few years when I first started, a lot of the clubs were conservative clubs, Labour clubs, Catholic clubs, liberal clubs. They didn't really like any language. If you swore on stage, then they wouldn't pay you. So what they normally used to do in the clubs, you'd go on and you'd do 2 sessions, 2 halves, you know, and do 40 minutes, and you go on, you tell it a few gags. Now, if it doesn't go down very well for whatever reason, maybe you're not on form, or your material's not that good, or if they're a difficult crowd, when you come off halfway, you know, through the night, they'll just you know, I've had it loads of times, especially places like Wigan, you know, they go, sorry, you're rubbish, you know, you're not our cup of tea. There's £20 for your petrol, now go, get out of here. That's what they're like. So we kind of progressed to the fun pubs, they were a bit better. Late 80s, early 90s, you found that you could start swearing a little bit, you know, and people accepted it like a generational thing. But the generation after the war, 60s, 70s, a little bit of the 80s, they didn't like any language at all. So you have to be careful. But nowadays, it's kind of the in thing. Nobody minds language. It's on the TV. It's on the radio, really, to a great extent. People really don't mind. It's not as kind of Victorian as it used to be, the attitude.
More normalised.
It's loosened up a little bit, which is great.
What sets you apart? You said about like these other comedians who had, you know, ran into this adversity of having people come on and assault them. But what sets you apart? Like, where did the name Britain's Most Feared Comedian even come from?
Well, my son Will, who's also my manager and the MC for all the shows, he gave me that name, and it fits me. People are actually scared. We go to a lot of venues now, and we always go in, and the first thing Will says to normally it's always sold out, really, wherever we go, but you'll find when the crowd come in, nobody will sit at the front. So what we have to do, or Will does this, it's a clever move, really. We get there at 5 o'clock anyway, very early, to do a sound check and the lighting check. We have a briefing with the security, telling them if it goes off, telling them what to do.
When it goes off.
When it goes
Not
off.
if.
When and if it goes off. But what we do, say to the manager, have you got any reserved things? So we get like reserved tickets, whatever, and put them on the tables at the back.
Right.
So people have to come
Forces
to
them to the front.
You just force them to the front.
Yeah.
And then they're just like lambs for the slaughter then.
Who is like your like perfect target to go after? So you said off camera that you usually identify someone to go off. Like, what are some of the best targets that you usually think, yeah, you're getting it there?
Well, anyone and everyone, you know, you can see defects in people. You know, if I see someone small, like when we were in South Wales, a little fella with a baseball cap on, he was shouting out a little bit. So I thought, if he moves, I knew he was small, you can tell, after all these years of experience, even though he was sitting down, I could tell he was very small. So I thought, if he goes to the bar or goes to the toilet, I'm going to get him, you know. So he got up and he started walking towards the toilet, and I went, fucking hell, has he fell off a key ring? So he turned out, he shouted out, hey, I work here. So I said, they must be short-staffed. I'll get you the job here, mate. I'll get you on the short list. And then he went and sat down and all that. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to apologise. Gentleman over there, one of the security, just told me last year he tried to take his own life. He jumped off the curb. That's the kind of people that I'm looking for, people who are flawed. I'm not being funny, you know, that you've got to be careful, you know, what you say these days, but anyone who's like heavy, a big person, you know, if I see a big fat fella at the front and he's got a bald head, I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, and what's wrong with this guy here? Don't look so worried, mate. We'll find out who pushed you off the wall. And it gets a huge laugh. Yeah. But thank God things have really loosened up a little bit, where people, they're not as sensitive as they used to be, and they don't feel as though they're being watched as much, you know, kind of like under the under the cosh of the woke thing.
Yeah. So assumingly, like, when you make fun of these people, like, most people are a good sport. They're there for, obviously, the comedic value.
Yeah.
But obviously you have a lot of times where people have reacted badly. What have been
Well,
some
not
of those
really,
experiences?
I'd only say it's kind of 1 in a million, really, when 99% of people, I've had people coming up to me saying, Frankie, will you pick on me when you go on? They want to be the centre of attention. So, and as long as you don't do it really nastily and venomously, and if everyone's got different kind of, what's the word, everyone reacts differently. If I see someone who doesn't really like it and they don't like it, they're going to kick off, I'll move on to someone else. And I'll pretend that the fella I'm picking on is kicking off.
Right, okay.
And I'll say, what are you kicking off for, mate? Why don't you be like my mate over there? I just had to go with him and he was laughing like mad. And then they go, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I took it well.
Yeah.
It's just psychology.
Psychology, yeah, reverse psychology. Have you ever had it where, like, people have just kicked off for any unknown reason, like whilst you've been on a gag? Some unexpected kickoffs.
Yeah, I've had kind of like weird, really. Again, going back a few years ago, I've seen fights in the crowd. Now, this was up in the Lake District. It was somewhere weird, right up near Scotland or something. It was kind of like I was doing this show. Anyway, I'll tell you what, Millom it was in Cumbria. And Millam's it's quite rough. There's always fights. I went into this club in Millom. There was 2 fellas at the bar. This is true. This one fella one side of the bar, one for the other. And I go, fucking hell. I knew it was rough. I was not having any troubles. And they started hitting each other. There was only those 2. I was there. No barmaids, just these 2 people who started knocking the legs at each other. 2 people. That's how bad it was. There's always trouble there. Yeah. Club in Morecambe. But I remember a fight broke out. It was that rough. They were having a fight and a pool match broke out. No, the fellas were fighting. Then this old fella just ran over and he went, I have no idea what he said. He went, what the fuck's that? He just stopped straight away. Must be like a different language or a dialect. Yeah. And he just stopped and went back to the seats. And I said to him, what did you say? He said, I just told us. I said, but you said something, like it must be like a dialect or something,
Yeah, it must be like a saying from that area. Yeah. What are some of the most dangerous places you've been to where you felt like quite unsafe? Because obviously you've been in situations where things have escalated. Yeah,
I've been in situations where things have escalated. What I will say about the UK generally, even with an act like mine, you see, it's a strange thing. When I first started working on the clubs, basically because I was a blue comedian, the agents at the time, and to work on a club, on a social club or a conservative club, whatever, you had to be clean, and I wasn't clean, I was blue, so I was virtually blacked. See, they wouldn't give me any work, the agents, but they'd give me work for a venue that nobody else would do.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So I used to get they'd phone me up, the agents, Frankie, got a job for you Saturday night, you're in Salford Precinct.
Yeah.
The flat iron I had to do, the Salford Precinct.
I mean, I don't know it, but I know Salford.
Yeah. They had a quiz night, and the first question was, who are you looking at? It was rough, any job in Liverpool. And they were trying, I started after a couple of years, I was saying, I'm getting threatened in these places. Why are you giving me all the rough work? So they tried to get round it. Nobody else would do these venues. So they used to give us a Frankie Allen because I could kind of handle them, I could handle them. Now, one time, this agent rang me up and he said, Frankie, I've got a job for you. So where is it? He says, a nice restaurant in Speak. And I said, Speak? A restaurant in Speak? Probably one of the roughest places in the UK. I said, fucking hell, okay. So he gave me the address. So I'm going down this road. I won't mention the name of the pub because it's still... Anyway, round the corner, about 100 dogs came round with the tails in the air. I looked at the wall, painted everywhere. Joey is a grass, Billy is innocence, Free Eddie so-and-so and all this. I said, what the hell's this, So I saw this pub, anyway, outside. I thought it was closed because one of the windows was boarded up and it was all burnt outside, black, smoke damage.
Right, okay.
So I went in, I said to the fella, it was very early, I said to the fella, what's going on here? He goes, we got petrol bombed the other night. I said, fucking all right. So I said, what's going on? Am I on my own, He said, no, Frankie, I've got this Elvis Presley tribute act.
Fuck yeah.
With you, you know. And he said, what's his name? And I knew this guy. He was from Birmingham, you know. So I'm in the venue. All these fellas are coming in. They're all like this, you know. Sitting down. All smoking weed. You could smell it everywhere. Anyway, the Elvis fella comes in. He's in the dressing room. And I walked in his dressing room. And he's getting ready to do his Elvis. He was on first, you know. And he goes, all right, Frankie. Fucking up, mate. What the fuck's this? I said, what do you mean? How now, Frankie? I don't fancy this at all. I said, well, you know, it's a job, you've got to do it. No, Frank, you know, I'm not going on here. I'm not going on here. I said, hang on a minute. So I went and got the manager, who was a bit of a tough guy around there. He said, look, I guarantee your safety.
Guarantee.
I'll stand by. When you're on stage, I'll be standing next to you and all this business. So
catch
anyway,
the petrol bombs and that.
The heckler, they give him a terrible time. Oh, you fucking dickhead. You think you're Elvis? You should have died 20 years ago. All this, and he's trying to sing, you know, and he's going, and when you smile, they all shout, you stupid, who the fuck does that sound like? Anyway, so he come off, and his sweat's dripping off his chest in the dressing room, and he says, I'm not going back on. I said, I've got to go on. I said, I'll go on now anyway. So I went on, I was savaging them all and all that. A fella kicked off. His mates pulled him back down, it nearly went off. And Elvis wouldn't go back on. So he said to me, you go on, Frankie. He said, I'll stay in the dressing room for a bit. I said, all right. He said, I want to walk out with you. I said, yeah, all right, no problem. So he was that scared. So I said to the manager, I said, look, Bobby, I said, look, pay him, give him his money. It was about 100 quid at the time. I said, don't, you know, give him petrol. He said, he's genuinely frightened. I said, I don't like it. It's going to go off. He said, no.
Yeah.
He said, there'll be murder here later. So, anyway, so I go back on, savaging them all. One fella's kicking off. Anyway, in the end, it went down quite well and all that. So we get in the dress. So he's sitting there and he goes, you ready to go, Frank? I said, where's your car? Is it the car park? So anyway, the manager said, I'll walk him out to his car. But I was getting changed and I was following him out. I heard all screams, terrible screams, in a car park. And I knew it was him. You know, he's very brummy, he was, very kind of Midlands accent. He was going, no! What the fuck? So they went out. And he'd run out, he'd gone out, he had his coat on, but he'd pulled his coat off these lads in the car park. So he had his Elvis cape on. And the fella had him by the hand and he's swinging him like that. And the manager had hold of this other fella in a headlock. He was a big fella. And this fella was trying to hit him. So I ran up and this fella's got hold of the manager. There's about 4 or 5 of them. And I hit him on the side of the head. And he let go. So I said, run, get in my car. It was, you know, it was leave your car, get in my car. We got in my car and the fella's hanging onto the door. And we drove down and we got away. So anyway, I had to park up and he's going, he's going, oh, so I don't know, Frankie. I've been warned about coming to Liverpool now. Never again, you know. So I said, look, come to my house with me. Well, he didn't go to my house anymore, went to McDonald's. I said, it's 11 o'clock. Well, go to town, go to McDonald's. We sat there, it's about 1 o'clock. I said, nobody will be there now. So we'll drive back to get your car. And we had to drive back. There's no one there. And they pulled up right to his car. And he jumped out and he got in the car. And he was on the phone the next morning, you know, 8 o'clock. Frankie, never again, I swear. They can have the fucking money. You know, it's true what they say about Liverpool. I said, no, it just happens anywhere, but it's just one of those things.
It's just a rough area.
Just a rough area. But I've had lots of things have happened like that. But they've happened to other comedians as well, not just me.
Have you ever been, like, you know, been in many fights? Like just yourself,
yeah,
like where people have attacked you?
Well, yeah.
Give us your worst one.
I've had about 5 or 6 fellas on me, you know, and...
What provoked that?
It wasn't anything I said. It was something in the crowd that somebody was heckling me, and I knew somebody had told me, the DJ in this club had told me before I went on, that there was a bad, horrible crowd coming in, family of, and they go round and they battered a fella in the chip shop.
Right.
The other night, they were just dickheads, you know, and they picked on me.
What location is this?
I'd rather not say,
right,
it wasn't,
yeah.
you know, because...
Fair enough. Yeah. I get you.
Yeah.
So like they just literally just came and just jumped on stage.
It was bad, you know. And
Yeah.
I've been stabbed and, been stabbed and I lost a lot of blood, being stabbed.
Do you ever think that it's not worth it?
No, I love it. It's fantastic. The only thing it does to you, it makes you a little kind of bit paranoid in a way.
Yeah.
Me and Will, we were in a club. I think it was up in Kendal in the Lake District. Only about 18 months ago. So I'm on stage, going down well, and in the second half, this fella's heckling me, so I'm heckling him back and having a go. So the security came in, there was 3 of them. So one of the lads said, "Oh, Frankie, you've been having a go at whatever his name was, this fella, Billy Seabiscuit or something." I said, "Yeah, who is he?" He said, "Oh, he's the main gangster in town here. And he's out with his dad. And you said something to his dad about a crematorium." So I said, "Yeah." And you started singing that song, "Do Not Be Afraid," that they sing at funerals. I said, "Only having a laugh." He said, "Oh, Frankie, be careful, you know." I said, "Fuck him." So he goes, "Okay, I'm just letting you know." Anyway, got to about 10:30, had been on it and finished at 11:15. So this security, and I could tell they were scared of this fella in the crowd.
Right.
So he'd gone. He'd walked out. I seen him through the curtain. He'd walked out with his dad. He'd gone. About 10 minutes later, they come in and they went, "Frankie, look, if you don't mind, we'll shoot away now." So I said, I read this one straight away, you know. I said, "What's happened here is they're scared of him. And the little gangster, he'll be waiting in the car park."
Right, okay. Yeah.
I've had lots of that.
Yeah.
Waiting in the toilets and all that, you know.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, do you ever? Why is it that people just can't like turn up and have a laugh? Like, why?
Well, whatever. So this is the funny thing that happened. Very protective towards my son, you know what I mean? He's kind of like, he's a big lad and everything, but I didn't want him getting his. But I knew, I thought there's going to be trouble here. So I said, "Listen, son, you stay in the dressing room. I'll go and get the car." I knew where it was, the other side of the car park. So I put my coat on. So I'm walking towards my car. It was quite dark. And I could see this fella standing by the car. So I thought, okay, here's this prick. So I walked right up to the car and I went, "I'll fucking kill you!" And I screamed at him, I ran, and the fella threw his hands up. I didn't see it was a railing, it was a bus stop, and he went, "I'm waiting for the bus, pal." It wasn't a little gangster. It was somebody else who was waiting for the bus. And I went, and he went, "You're all right?" He went, "You're all right?" I went, "Have you seen a little fella, a little gangster?" And he went, "No." He said, "I'm waiting for the 17." I went, "Oh, fuck it up." So I drove back. But you can't be too careful. You never know what's going to go on, you know what I mean?
So you sound like you remind me like when I remember when I was boxing when I was a kid, the coach would always say, "Be the first one to throw the first punch." So that sounds like you, but obviously on the comedic side, you tend to throw the first.
I know exactly what you're saying. You can't show fear.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a young fella anymore, but with a crowd, I won't back down to anybody. And what I've said to a lot of crowds, a lot of people, anyone who heckles me, we had a fella in Penzance.
Where's that?
Cornwall.
Okay.
We did a few weeks ago, and we had, security on. The next thing, I'm on the stage. This fella's from Leeds. He wasn't from, just living down there.
Right.
So the next thing is, I'm on the stage, and he jumped on the stage, and he's standing right next to me. And he goes, real Yorkshire, I knew he wasn't from Cornwall straight away, and he went there, "I'm going to kick your fucking head in." So I went, "Okay." There's like 500 people there. So I just go, "Okay, go on, kick me head in." And then he started shouting out, they all talk like pirates down there, don't they? Like Long John Silver. And he goes, "Knock fuck out of him, Frankie! Frankie, kill him, little cunt! Kill him, Frankie!" Like that. So I said, "Hey mate, fuck off." So he walked away. So then he started bringing drinks inside the stage. All he said, "Oh, sorry about that. So we walked out into the car park and we were going back to the hotel, and the guy who organised the show, he was taking us back, So the next thing, a little tap on my shoulder, it was that fella. That's it, round. And he went, "What about that fight we were going to have?" I was, "Fuck off, mate." And he just walked away, just a dickhead. It's unbelievable, the amount of people, I mean, especially, people being on their own. There's a lot of cranks all over the UK now, nutcases.
Yeah. So, like, obviously when people heckle you, how do you deal with heckling?
If I want to try and keep it, if it's just the beginning of my act, then I want to try and keep it kind of like smooth. I don't want to make any waves. I don't want any bad feeling or whatever. Then I'll just say a few silly little things to see if they're working. I'll say, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when cousins get married." Or, "You shouldn't drink. Are you drinking, mate? You shouldn't drink on an empty head, Little things
just
like
little
that.
simple
Put
ones.
Your teeth in back to the front, you chew your fucking head off, And I believe you bought a parrot, it died of earache.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't stop them, then you've got to go a little bit further.
Have you ever had like the ones where they just keep going? And
Oh
going
yeah,
and
we had
going?
one last year.
What was that one like?
Oh, what happened? Will I tell you? This is true, perfectly true. We were doing the beer keller. We do the beer keller quite regularly.
Here
in Liverpool,
yeah.
So everything's cool. We had a couple of the security was some were downstairs and some were upstairs. So the manager come upstairs. So he said, "Frankie, look, I just want to tell you, there's this big fat fella downstairs, rotten drunk, and he's been eating all the Buffy, like the Cookie Monster, and he won't pay for it." I said, "Yeah, well, I can't do anything about that." He said, "No, but when he comes upstairs to the show, see." So I said, "Okay, all right." So there was a couple of lads at the back and there was a couple of lads downstairs. So Will went out, my son, he's MC, and he started having a go at Will. So I said, "Okay," I'm looking through the curtain, I saw where he was. I thought, "I'll get him." So as soon as we walked out, I said, "You're all right, mate, you look great on those 4 chairs there." So he started kicking off. And I said, "You got knocked over, didn't you, during the petrol strike?" And you said to the fella, "Didn't you see me?" He said, "I didn't have enough petrol to go around you." So he started fuming, He started fuming, he was kicking off. So I said, "Ladies and gentlemen," said to the security, get him out, throw him out, eject him, So they were walking over. So they were having a bit of a bad time with him. He's a hell of a size.
Right.
He had hold of him by the arms and he's pushing him and pulling him and all that, And they must have been on walkie-talkies. The next thing, these 2 big fellas run up from downstairs, looked like wrestlers. And they ran up and they grabbed him. And they ran up the stairs and then they were trying to run him out, if you know what I mean, run him downstairs. So as they grabbed him and they're running him, I shouted, "Bit later start jogging, isn't it?" So give him his cue, he goes like that, elbows them, and jumps up on the stage to get me. So he's standing where you are, just a few feet away from you like that, and he's coming towards me. Well, I had to make a decision. I thought, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I'll have to hit him if he gets any closer. And the crowd, I can't back down in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
People will be saying my reputation. Frankie Allen, supposed to be the UK's most feared comedian. He ran off the stage when I fell. So he come right up to me and he went, so I went, "Fucking come on." And just as I said that, the lads grabbed him.
Right.
Pulled him onto the floor and he took him out.
Fuck yeah.
So quite relieved really, but I said to the crowd, "I would have fucking killed him." And you're all shouting, "No, you wouldn't, Frankie." It was just dead funny.
Yeah.
And you can make situations funny.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, you can always spin it into
You
a
can
positive.
spin it, people, a lot of comics I know even now, a little bit of trouble in the club and they just, we were talking about a friend of ours before, a little bit of trouble in a club. And they go, "Oh, no, I'm not going on. It's too rough for me. I don't like it." Or a lot of people are very kind of frightened of different areas.
Right.
I know comics that'll go, "Where's this? I'm going to Manchester. What's this place? What? Hang on a minute. Hume. Now Hume's bad in Manchester. Hume." And I've had lads go, "Oh, fuck that. I'm not going to Hume."
Yeah.
Or fellas will say, I've had Manchester lads ringing me, "Frankie, I've got this job's come through. Where is it? The agent wants me to go. It's in Kirby, what's it like?" And I've gone, "Don't go." And they've gone, "You're fucking joking." And I've gone, "Don't go, it's fucking terrible." "No, it's all right, you'll be
That'll
all
be
right,
fine,
and
yeah.
all that. And which club is it? And I'll phone the fella up, you know, because I'll
Yeah.
know them. And it's like your town, Wrexham or Lee, wherever you are. You know everybody, you know what I mean? You know the people. So I phoned him up and said, look, a friend of mine's coming down from Manchester, look after him and all that, you know. But it is strange. But it's very lonely. You can be hundreds of miles away from home. And virtually, if you're on your own, you're very vulnerable.
Yeah. Is there any like places like give us like your list of work places where you hate doing versus where you love doing?
Well, it's not an actual place that I hate doing. You can't regionalise things. People always told me, and it's just a myth, north-south divide, that if you go down south, people aren't as receptive to gags, comedy. They're very much the same. They love getting picked on. They love blue stuff. Everywhere's got a working class area. I've worked in Cambridge and Oxford university towns, Bournemouth, but even though it might be a retirement town or a university city or whatever, they've still got a working class, and you all seem to congregate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not having a go at them. They're my audience, and you know, I love that kind of a vibe, you know. So, but if it get booked, not now because people know what to expect. Frankie Allen, UK's most feared comedian, do not come if easily offended. See, so people know. But a few years ago, I'd get to venues and I'd walk in and I'd look through the glass in the door and go, oh, fucking hell, no. You know, old women in their 70s and things with like purple hair and glasses like Dame Edna Average. And it's just so hard to get them laughing. Yeah. And they're kind of waiting. They're like vultures. They're looking at you, they're waiting for you to swear, you know. It's so strange. So they think they shout out, heckle you, or they'll just go very quiet.
So would you say that's the hardest audience to perform in front of, like for you?
I've had some. I remember doing this place, and it's gone now, the club's gone, so I can mention it, Abbey Road Conservative Club, and it was in Barrow-in-Furness. So you go up 3 flights of stairs to the concert room, a huge room, and it had a terrible name. On the door as you walk in, somebody had drawn a coffin, one of the acts. And written underneath the coffin, you will be sorry that you appeared here. It had a terrible name for nobody getting a laugh.
Yeah.
And somebody else had written, this is not a door. This is a gate on the door to the stage. This is a gateway to another dimension. You have been warned. Anyway, I thought, fucking hell, you know. What's going on? So the fellow come in and he went, oh, Frankie, very hard crowd here, very, very hard. I said, what are they like? Oh, I said, they don't like language here, you know. They're getting on a little bit. They got wheelchairs coming in and everything, you know. Anyway, I had to go on twice, which is always the kiss of death, because normally you have a bad time in the first half, then they won't pay you. You know, they'll give you half your money and send you home. They won't let you go on for the second half.
Oh, so that's the thing, like...
Yeah, that was rife.
Right, okay.
A lot of the people that ran the clubs, they were kind of on the fiddle. That's how they make the money. They'd pay the acts off if they didn't like them, and they'd pocket the money, you know, that they got off the club, the committee. It's a very corrupt business. So, what I used to do, it was years and years ago, there was a thing on the TV called Heidi High about a holiday camp thing. Do you ever remember it?
I've heard of Heidi High. I don't know what it is.
It was a comedy show, and it was about like Pontins or Butlins,
right? Kind
of a sketch show. But people were going, a lot of older people used to say to each other, Heidi High. You know, it was kind of like an in vogue little term.
Right.
So I thought, I'll go on tonight. I'll try to, I mean, it's hard with the face on me, but I thought I'll try and present the most inoffensive version of myself that I've ever done, because I knew that they were horrible. So I walked down and I went, Heidi High, and they went, howdy ho. I thought, I'm all right here. So I went, started telling a few gags, and all of a sudden, because I was getting a few laughs at a few silly gags, a fella walked past. I said, I met you before, haven't I, mate? And he said, have you? I said, yeah, hanging around children's playgrounds. Anyway, the whole audience, they all went, ooh, ooh, gone, dead. And then you all started talking amongst themselves. Oh, I could hear him. He shouldn't have said that. That was disgraceful. It was disgusting. So I was going, ladies and gentlemen, only try to have a bit of a laugh. Have a bit of a laugh. You're a lovely crowd, though. So when it come off, I died, you know, just no laughs the last 15 minutes as it come off. You've got to do your time. So I was slumped in a chair in the dressing room. And I used to get a rash when I died, when I had a bad time, on my chest. Sometimes it spread.
Fucking hell.
It used to spread to my face. Got this fucking rash. It's like up to my eyes. I'm like one of these fish people off the TV. I was like, oh, what the, look at my face. What am I going to do and all that? So I thought, I've got to go back on the second half. I can't stay in this room for 20 minutes interval. I'll go downstairs. So everyone's going downstairs during the interval because the beer's cheaper downstairs or some fucking thing. So I'm just kind of hiding. Hundreds of people going down, I'm just hiding like that. And there's this old woman, I'll never forget, she had two things on her legs.
Right.
Like, I mean, you might remember them, but years ago, anyone...
Like around the knees?
Not like a huge black, like a foot, a boot, a huge boot.
Oh, right, okay.
The big black boot.
Right.
But on the other leg had these iron things coming down. And she had these two fellas, I don't know who they were, they were like linking her, and they were helping her down the stairs, and she was going like that, crib clock. So I was right behind her. So she went, "You won't see him again. He'll be on his way home. Absolute trash." I went, oh my God. Oh my God. And I was trying to make myself smaller and smaller and smaller. Got in the car and got back on stage. The fella said, "Oh, he had a bit of a bad time. It's the hardest game in the world. But I'm sure he's got to do better in the second half." It was even worse.
Oh, God.
just died, you know. Everyone's talking while I'm on. No one's taking the blind bit of notice. So it's years ago, it's a different generation now. There's the people who are out now, younger people, anybody kind of under 70 now, under 60 who goes out, they're in a good frame of mind. Everybody uses language in everyday use. People aren't bothered like they used to be. I was kind of ahead of my time, I suppose, in a way. A lot of clean comics used to go down very well, but doing very silly material.
It's like your material, like how much of it is prepared versus just, you know, you're making it up on the spot?
Well, I've got a very good ear for a gag. If somebody tells me a gag, I'll know straight away if that'll work with an audience.
Right.
And as I say, the character that I'm portraying, I can say gags very near to the knuckle. Other people might say a bit offensive, that, but it'll get a huge laugh because it's coming from me. You know, I had a friend of mine, I won't tell you his name, and he's a good lad, a Manchester lad. And a few years ago, I was working with him on a show up in Oldham, Royton in Oldham. And I come off and he went, "Frankie," he said, "you know when you walk out?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You go, he's a paedophile." "How does that work?" I said, "I don't know what you mean." He said, "How does it work?" I said, "Just do it." He went, "Yeah, but you got a big laugh with it." He said, "Do you think I could do it?" He said, "Do you mind if I use some of your material?" So I said, "No, you can use it if you want." He says, "Oh, hang on a minute." And then he phoned me during the week. "Let me write this down, Frankie. You come out and you say to someone in the audience, 'Don't I know you? Haven't I seen you hanging around children's playgrounds?'" So he said, "Okay." So he said, "I'll do it." Anyway, a friend of mine, I saw him, you know, he had a shop in Liverpool. I walked into his shop. He said, "Oh, Frankie, went to see a comedian on Friday. He was working in Highton in Liverpool. It was rough." I said, "Any good?" He said, "Oh, no, he got knocked out." So I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "He walked out and he says to this fella, 'Haven't I seen you hanging around children's playgrounds?'" He said, "I just jumped up and hit him." I said, "Oh, sorry about that." So I said, I know who it is. I know it's Robbie, you know."
Yeah.
So anyway, I phoned him up and said, "Robbie." And he went, "Fucking hell, Frankie. Put me on a fucking bum steer there, pal, with those scousers." I said, "Well, you asked me." I know. I just can't get my head around what went wrong." I said, "It must have just been the way you said it." So, you know, every comic, I've had a few comics who've tried to imitate what I do, but it doesn't really work for them.
Yeah. So like every comic has like a way of saying things.
Yeah,
and,
everyone, their own delivery and their image as well.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen comics go on stage and do some material and got bits of laugh. And another comic has gone on and got a bigger laugh with the same material. They haven't known he's done it because he's only just arrived, because it's different personality.
Yeah. What's like a story that you always fall back on, like one of your gags? Like, because I've heard, like, from talking to a few comics, they always have like a real life story that they use in like a gag. Have you got any of those? Like,
well, not really. I mean, my gags are my personality, picking on people, savaging people, telling stories about, I got filled in here, where I live it's so rough. You know, bought an advent calendar in Liverpool, took it out the envelope, all the windows are boarded up, all that, you know. And wherever I'm gone, everywhere's got a rough area. Yeah. Every city, every town, every village in the UK has got a rough area. And I found out they love you referring to their area.
Right, okay.
You know, if I'm up in Lee or anywhere, or North Manchester, you can go on about Lee, or you can go on about Oldham, go on about Langley, or there's different places. When we were in Norwich, the rough area is called Mile End or Mile Road, something like that, Mile Road. And you mention it, they're all pissing themselves, you know. And funny enough, there's a place called Grangetown, which is in Sunderland, which is rough, really, really rough. But there's 4 or 5 venues I've done all over the UK, and they've all been called, the areas are all Grangetown in different places, and they're all rough. How strange is that?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere that you've not been where you would like to go?
Well, we've been virtually everywhere. You know, we've been, for some reason, although there's been a lot of work abroad and the Gulf and everywhere, you know, Dubai and Cyprus and Malta and everywhere, and Spain, British pub in Spain, in Madrid, Tenerife, we went a few years ago, had a great time out there. I'd never been to Scotland, and I always wanted to go there. And then suddenly, we were there all the time, you know, we were there a few months ago. Glasgow, Helensburgh, north of Glasgow, been to Ireland, and been virtually everywhere really. Done all the south coast, London, Bristol, Maidstone, Kent, the Midlands, South Wales, North Wales, Mid Wales, Norwich, East Midlands, Merseyside, Manchester. I mean, I used to kind of like almost live in Manchester. I'd done that much work there at one stage. The north of England. Don't think there's anywhere really that I haven't really been to. Yeah, the Isle of Man, everywhere.
Because I think like watching comics and stuff, I watch a lot of Jimmy Carr, and I don't know what your thoughts are on Jimmy Carr, but from listening to him on podcasts and like interviews, I feel like comedians are very misunderstood. Like, you know, they take the character for the actual person, but like he talked about some of the struggles he had in comedy. But what are some of the hardest things that you've seen about being like a comedian?
With regards to what?
Just the lifestyle of it.
It can be a very precarious profession in a way, where people are organising shows, and you always get someone who's gone, not so much now because we get it all contracted before we do the shows now, but a few years ago what would happen is somebody would phone me up and say, Frankie, you're working on such a date, will you do my pub? So you put the date in, then they cancel it. And 9 times out of 10 you'd had other inquiries for that date, and you'd knock them back. So I got to the stage where I was saying, okay, I used to take 2 and 3 jobs in one night and I'd double up. You know, a guy would phone me and they'd say, Frankie, I've got a job in, say, Denton in Manchester, okay. And then I'd look in my diary and say, I'm working in Oldham that night. So the phone up, I'll say, I'll be back in a minute. Phone the guy up in Oldham and he'd go, all right, Frank, what's up? I'll say, listen, will you put me on at 10:30 and I'll knock 50 quid off? Yeah, okay. So I'll phone up the guy in Denton and say, you'll have to put me on 8:30 and I'll do it for 150 quid instead of 200. Great. So I'd get there, they'd all be there on stage, 8:30, 9:15, 9:20, finished, up to Oldham, on stage, 10 o'clock, as long as I got there before 10:30. So going home, this was in like the 90s, there, the 80s, 90s, I learned I was making double the money, but, you know, instead of going home with 200 quid, I was going on with like 400, 350, you know. Yeah. So it was great. And I've done like 3 and 4 jobs in one night years ago, you know, or in a day. I remember one day, guy phoned me up to go to Morecambe and he said, we're going to races, Frank. I said, okay. He said, so it's in the morning and can you get me a couple of girls, a couple of strippers? So I said, okay. So it started at 9:30, the lads are having the breakfast. You're on stage at 10 o'clock. bring the girls on, it'll all be finished by 11. I said, okay. So somebody else would phone me up. Frankie, I'm doing this thing in Nelson Cole. I said, okay. And I've always been kind of good at geography. And I said, what time do you want me on? He said, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Great, I'll go from the Lake District down to Cole. Not a great, you know, not a great time, not a great length of time. So then somebody else phoned me up for a job in St. Helens, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it just happened that night. I managed to do 5 jobs in one day. It was great, you know. But I love being on stage.
Like, how does it affect you in terms of like the confidence and stuff? Obviously, sometimes you said you had bad nights, but how would you go from a bad night? So say if you had like a performance that night, did you ever have nights where it didn't go too well, but then you literally had another one after it where you're like, I've got to go shoot down the road?
Well, it depends on the crowd, you see. I remember once a guy gave me a job in Bolton, Astley Bridge in Bolton. Yeah. They were a little bit conservative club. They were very much kind of like, you know, a bit snobby. And then this other guy phoned me up from Manchester, from Hardwick, and he said, all right, Frankie, and the club, the pub it was on, was called the Store. This was like going back to the 90s. And I said, listen, I've got to go to Bolton. So I shoot down to 61. I said, I'll be there about 10 o'clock. So he said, okay. So get up to Bolton, Ashley Bridge Conservative Club. Same thing, they're only there for the bingo. All old men and old women. And just went out on stage telling jokes. He's just looking at me. Nothing at all. No one heckled me, no one laughed. It was literally just like talking to a wall. So I was trying to have a laugh amongst, you know, to myself. I was going, is there anybody there? You know, and some fella started out there, hey, we'd laugh if you were funny. We'd laugh if you... Fuck it, anyway. Turns out they wouldn't pay me. It was through an 8, they wouldn't pay me. So I got in my car, I was destroyed, you know. So I get down to this fucking pub in Hardwick. And you know what Hardwick's like, all sitting there like that, you know. So I'm sitting there and the fella goes, right, Frankie, I'll put you on now. And it was a pub, it was heaving, loads of people at the bar and all that. And I was standing on a chair in the corner. I said, fucking hell. I picked the mic up. I said, ladies and gentlemen, I've just been in Bolton. Everyone started to piss themselves.
Yeah.
Then the worse I went, look at this scrubber. Hey, you've been around a little bit, haven't you? You didn't get a mouth like that sucking oranges. You fucking scrubber. And they were clapping. You know, they were clapping over the moon. Brought the house down. So that night I thought, hang on a minute. This isn't me. It's just different crowds. I've got to get a crowd that suits me.
Yeah.
People have to know this guy's very offensive, very blue. If you book him, this is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You're putting a square peg in a round hole if you put me with a snobby audience.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like horses for courses sort of thing.
Horses for courses. So what happened was, I was getting a little bit fed up. It was about 7 or 8 years ago. I was doing this pub in Father's Day and in Liverpool, and a fella was filming me on his phone. It was propped up against pint glass, you know. And I said, don't film me, mate. I said, no. He said, what? I said, no, don't film me. Just I'm always scared, you know, the way things are these days. Didn't want to get into trouble. Don't film me. He said, okay. So he switched his phone off. Anyway, it went on, and there was a fella heckling me. Scottish fella. And I'm having a go with him. He's shouting out, I'll put you on your ass. I'll put you on your ass. So I said, you're a Scottish fella, aren't you? Aren't you in court for shagging a cat? What do you mean? I said, the judge won't believe any Scotsman would put anything in the kitty. Huge fucking laugh. Then this fella who was his son-in-law starts threatening me. I said, hey you skinny, have you seen yourself? What could you fucking do? You're that skinny, your Adam's apple's bigger than your fucking head. You're that skinny, you go to bed, you look like you're ripping the sheet. So I was heckling him. So he went to the toilet and he come back, and what he'd done, I'm not sure if he pissed on his hands or his hands were wet, he was trying to rub me head, and he said, here's some Mr. Sheen for your head. So he's coming towards me, so I thought he was going to hit me. So I pushed him in the chest, and I was just ready to hit him in case he tried to take a swipe at me, and he went, I'll fucking kill you. And I said to him, you couldn't tag a feather off your mother. Anyway, huge laugh and all that. Anyway, it all went okay in the end. There was no trouble. But I got in my car and I went, oh, fuck it hell. Brought the house down there, it was great. And a fella, as soon as like that incident had happened, this fellow come in, like fella in his 70s, 80s, with these glasses on and white hair, and he had like a little case with him or something, or you know, kind of like whatever it was. And he walked in, and I went, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, what's happening with this paedophile in the room?" And all. We shouted, "I'm not a..." I said, "You fucking..." And he went down fantastic. And I got in the car that night and I thought, fuck it, what am I going to do to get a break, you know? Everywhere I was going was bringing the house down with my brand of comedy, which people might think it's over the top, but it gets results.
Yeah.
And then it was Father's Day, nothing happened, and then a year went by to Father's Day 2018, a few days before. So my son phoned me up, he said, "Dad, have you been working in a pub somewhere?" I said, "No one's filmed me, have they?" Yes. Yeah, I went, "Oh, no. I had to sit down, you know." I said, "Have I said anything weird?" He went, "Yeah, to the Scottish fella." I said, "What did I say?" "You're in court for shagging a cat." I said, "Oh, fucking hell." I'll have fucking Scottish independence movements after me, Alex Salmon and all that, you know. "What the fuck?" He said, "No, he was laughing. It's only a laugh and all that." I said, "Look, son," I said, "I don't know where it was filmed." So when he sent me, I knew straight away it'd been filmed the year before in this bar in Liverpool. Yeah. So I phoned me Will up and I said, "Look, son, can you get..." He's very good on the internet. And I said, "Get it down. Say to the fellas, copyright, get hold of him and get it down." So he just never phoned me back. So a couple of hours later, he phoned me. He said, "Dad, do you want the good news or the bad news?" So I said, "What's the bad news?" He said, "I can't get it down." I said, "Well, what's the good news?" He said, "It's been seen by 7 million people in a week. It's flying round."
Yeah.
I said, "You're joking." There were 7 million, then the following week, it was about 14 million. So we were in Birkenhead doing this show, and this bird was heckling me, and she started dancing in front of me, taking the clothes off in this rough pub in Birkenhead. So I was going, "Fuck off, you scrubber. If you were sniffing in my backyard, I'd pull a fucking curtain and all this." Push your tits together, make one fucking good one and all that, and a savage there. So it was a big laugh. So on the back of the first video, that kind of went viral as well. Not as big as the first one, but altogether within a month, I'd had 21 million views on the 2 videos. And my phone just literally exploded. I just couldn't believe it. Even in the night, it was jumping, you know. "Oh, is that Frankie? You know, I'm getting married in October, Frankie." I said, "You don't want me to wedding me?" "Oh, I do. It's in Barnsley." You know, and you straight away, they've got fingers missing and everything up there, you know what I mean? He said, "Oh, I want to have a go at the mother-in-law, Frankie. What you said on your video, you said, you know, your bird ended up in a home for battered women, and even they give it a fucking good idea." And he said, "Will you do that to my lass's mother?" Or like, 4 o'clock in the fucking morning, never stopped. So I said, "Will, you've got to do something here." So he'd been in Lippe, Paul McCartney School. And he got a degree and he was bringing bands over from the States to Tamir Rovers, you know, rap bands and rap singers and things like that. So we said, "Dad, I'll take it over." And he was managing a few other acts, but he started managing me then. And I've always been a bit kind of, you know, people have phoned me up. I've always never really kind of like made money, me God. I haven't like said to people, when people were phoning up, he said, "No, leave it with me. You should be on a totally different structure now.
Yeah.
Pay wise, what you're getting, which we are on now."
Yeah. So obviously you were quite like apprehensive about, you know, getting, you know, saying jokes and it going viral or going out there. But with Will in the scenes now, do you not mind?
Well, no, because Will keeps me in check. I never say anything really contentious, and I never have really.
So you've never gone overboard, do you think?
No, I've never gone over the top. I've never done anything that you could, you know, totally... As long as people know what I'm doing, you know what I mean?
Know the intent.
Well, it's just funny, isn't it? You know, if I say something to someone that gets a huge laugh, what can you say? And as I say, people are saying to me, "Frankie, will you take the mickey out of him? Pick on me if you want. Pick on me." You know, I savaged the fella when we were in Lancaster last week. And he's a big fella, you know. And... just a few silly gags, you know. If I found him in bed with my missus, I'd tuck him in and all that, you know. And if you fell over, you'd be halfway home before you hit the floor. And then I'd done a pig's head thing, weren't you, in the butcher's? And he went, "I wasn't in the butcher." I said, "You were." He said to the butcher, "Is that a pig's head in the window?" And he said, "No, it's a mirror." You know, so... and he came up to me at the end. And I always have the security with me when I'm coming off, you know. And he went, "Oh, Frankie, that was fantastic."
Yeah.
He said, you should have steamed into me a bit more. Some of them like it.
Yeah, that's something like I think it's a shame whenever I see, like, I was watching a Jimmy Carr clip, and he was saying the joke that is going to get me cancelled has already been said, and he kind of like goes in this circular thing with it, and he says, what I'm going to do is when it comes out and they're going to cancel me for this joke, is I'm going to say, oh, I'm sorry, and then they go, well, you don't really mean that, do you? And he goes, now you're getting it, as if like, you can say things and not mean it.
Well, I've got a different take on it, really. The rule of thumb I use, people do gags about disasters and things that have happened. First of all, never do anything that's happened in the UK.
Why?
Well, it's too close to home, isn't it?
Right.
You might get people in the crowd who've got relatives who've been in a tragedy or whatever. Even if it's abroad, give it a few years, really. And then, like a lot of comics say, I've seen a lot of American comics do it. They'll do a gag and they'll go, oh, the crowd, and they say, is it too soon? When it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So as long as a few years have gone by, then you can do most things.
What are some jokes that you? What are some things that you make fun of? Like,
in what way?
Like in terms of like the things that happen abroad and whatnot. Is there anything that?
Well, I'm not political. I don't do anything. I mean, the UK is very what I'd call insular. Liverpool, Manchester, Blackpool, Preston, all over every country. You probably noticed it yourself. Every city, every town in the UK hates the next town to them. They despise the next town. Very strange. You've got Wrexham and Chester.
Lee and Wigan.
Yeah. Blackpool and Preston. Liverpool and Manchester. We went to Norwich. They hate Ipswich. They despise Ipswich. And they were singing a song in the crowd. The Addams Family song they were singing. Your sister is your brother, your dad married another, you got 4 fingers on your head, the Ipswich family. Calling them inbred. There's a lot of all over the place. Plymouth, Portsmouth and Southampton hate each other. I was in Newcastle one year, and Sunderland, which is 7 miles where we were, North Shields, 7 miles from Newcastle Airport. Yeah. We went past the airport to get to it. So in this club, it's called the Blue Flame Club, funnily enough. So was this fella, to come off, and he went, I'm off in the morning, Frank. I said, where do you want Ibiza? I said, oh, great. He said, me and a family are looking forward to it. So I said, yeah. I said, well, you'll be there in no time. What time are you flying? He said, about 7 o'clock. He said, I'll leave our house about 3 o'clock. I said, well, how long will it take you to get to the airport? He said, nearly 2 hours. I said, I've just gone past it. I've just gone past Newcastle Airport. Aye, he said, more. I go Leeds, Bradford. They wouldn't get a penny off me.
Oh my God.
Couldn't believe it was true.
Yeah, that's that bitter.
He said, no, Frank, he said, I'd rather die, they won't get a penny off me. Yeah. Can't believe it, can you? And that's what it's like all over the UK. So, at the same time, they kind of dislike people from other countries, from other cities and other towns, other villages. They're very patriotic to where they live. Every town, you think that where you live or where you're from is the best place on earth. There's no better people. People are lovely. They're all honest. There's no rogues. There's no robbers, or if there is, they must be from out of town that have come here. To kind of look at their own through rose-coloured glasses. People in the UK are very kind of clannish.
Bias as well.
So biased towards themselves. So, not flatter them, but if you go on stage, you mention a few of the local areas and have a bit of a laugh over it, then they're over the moon. Yeah,
it almost wins them over.
It wins them over. And what wins them over more than anything else is like having a dual identity. A lot of Scousers, you've seen it on the football games, got these flags. We are not English, we are Scouse. And you've got people, it's kind of a dual identity. You've got people in the, Spain and Bilbao, the Basque country, who are kind of Basque, very patriotic to the Basque region, but they still consider themselves Spanish. You've got people in Wales, might want Welsh independence, but at the end of the day, if they got called up, they go and fight in the British Army. It's like a dual nationality thing, and that's what you get as well with the crowds. Although in some places people are a little bit, when I first went up to Manchester, a little bit of a here's a Scouser, you know, he's the enemy. But all you've got to do to turn that around, especially during wartime, during the Falklands War, you can wind them up, you know. Listen, boys, you know, we're going to war, and they go crazy, you know. We've all got to stick together, like a political thing, really, and they go crazy for it. So British people, although they're very kind of insular to where they live, they like being...
Yeah, you can sort of broaden
British.
It out. So you kind of use it like psychological...
Well, there's a regional thing as well.
Yeah.
You know, I do a thing, I go on stage, anywhere in the north of England, you know, I was working down south last week, they're all perverts. And I was just telling my mate from Kent over there, you see, you know, so he's pervert. So they love all that, and they can think about their own city, but they can also think nationally, but they also think regionally as well, you know.
Yeah, the broader picture. So you kind of like psychologically,
psychology.
Yeah, getting them over to your side. What are some other like psychological techniques that you use on people?
Well, psychological, as I say, if I'm picking on somebody and if he can't handle it and he can't take it, I won't actually apologise to them, but I'll move on to someone else, really savage them, and say, don't get the ump, mate. I've just been having a go with my mate over there, over his ear, and he's laughing his head off. Then you see them change completely. They go, oh yeah, I can take it, I was all right. Good lad, mate, for taking it. And they're going like that then. And they were ready to kick off. Yeah. You can defuse them.
What are some of the comedians that you like? Like, you know, let's say your top 3 comedians
that I admire. Well, Bob Monkhouse, he's dead now, and he was a great comedian, very sharp, very witty, he was a very clever comedian, a lot of his gags. And Chubby Brown, who's a very good friend of mine, he's a great lad. He's a brilliant comedian, you know, he's very funny. But more than anything else, a lot of things that I used to see when I was a kid on the television or read about have actually come true. There used to be a thing on the TV, you ever heard that expression, an Englishman's sense of fair play?
Not really.
Yeah, people say it, and I always thought it kind of related to cricket.
Right, okay.
An Englishman, very fair.
Like gentlemanly.
Gentleman.
Yeah.
Fairness. You've heard that, haven't you? Fair play. An Englishman's got a sense of fair play. You know, they kind of, when they were abroad, if there was any row, they can be the arbiter between people, they kind of bring people together, they can be very diplomatic. So, and I've found that, you know, I've been in situations, I remember being in Nottingham once, this club, the Victoria Club, a huge club. There was about 500 or 600 fellas in there. It was fucking rough. I was on with a few strippers. And fella kicked off. I'll punch your fucking head in and all this, you know. So I just went with it. Hey mate, yeah, you were the boxer. The only boxer in Nottingham with a cauliflower ass. And he was shouting out, and I was saying, fuck off. I'll give you that many left, you'd be begging me for a right. Voila. So he started kicking off. And a few of the other lads on his table, I said, oh no, this is going here. I'm going to get my head kicked in. And all of a sudden, some lads on another table, some big lads, you know, fella just stood up and said, hey, sit down. He's only doing his job, he's just telling jokes, sit down. A lot of people in England, that's why even when I went round on my own for 30 years, 40 years, people don't like to see anyone bullied. Yeah. That's in the English character, the British character, same in Scotland, the Wales and Ireland. They don't like to see anyone bullied. You know, I've had it loads of times, the fellas have come up to me and I've had a bit of trouble with someone in the crowd, and they've gone, are you alright, Frank? You know, is everything okay? You know, we'll walk out with you to the car and all that, you know. Yeah. And we get it everywhere. Now that I'm kind of famous, and Will is as well, everybody knows Will, wherever we go now, they're waiting outside when we come in. When we went to Real on Saturday, escorted in, and you know, it's just in a different world, totally different to what it was a few years ago. We go into the dressing room and there's sandwiches and tea and coffee and anything you want, and drinks from the bar, and certain people are allowed in, you know, for pictures. It's great. Got a bit more respect now than what we used to have, you know. So touch wood, the security aspect of it, we don't really worry too much about, because we've always got some good lads with us, you know, that are on stage, you know, and I make sure. You'd be surprised though, where you still get idiots. We do a thing at the end of the show called a meet and greet, where people will queue up round the club and they'll come up and have a picture with Frankie Allen, and they have a picture and all that. But a few times, people have come up and just jumped on me and put me in a headlock. Just pissed idiots, you know. Then this other fella, where were we, in Birmingham, all of a sudden I felt something on my legs. I thought, what the fuck's this? I thought I was having a stroke, you know, like pains in my legs. So this big fat fella, he picked me up, and he picked me up like that, like a chair, and went like that, and put me on his shoulders, and started running around the stage. And I thought, I was scared, you know, I thought, if I fall onto the floor, I could break my neck here, you know. So I was hanging onto his head for dear life, screaming, put me fucking down, you fat twat. Anyway, the bouncers ran over and grabbed him and they got me down. That's what you got to be careful of. Some of them are idiots, you know. Yeah. And some, like, real... I won't say where it was, but there's one place, the fella come up with glasses, looked like a and he went, Frankie, can I have a picture? I had a picture. So I got a picture. So he fucks off. So he comes back about 10 minutes. The queue, the big queue in this club, goes right to the back of the queue. He comes back, and he's coming around again. He went, it didn't come out very well, that one. Can I have another one? I said, yeah. So I have a picture with him. And then he come back with this bird, the third time. And he said, Frankie, if you don't mind, I want to, this is my auntie, can I have a picture of my auntie? She was like that, like Hen Dodd, you know. I go, fucking hell, in Yorkshire somewhere. Have a picture, and he's like that with a big hump on his back, and he's like, oh, thanks, Frankie. These little glasses, like Danger Mouse, you know. So he fucks off. So I said, this is a bit weird, this. I said, oh, that fucking twat doesn't come back here again. So next thing is, I saw him in the queue. So I said to the bouncer, come over here in a minute, just stand there. So I said, he come up to me and I said, haven't I seen you before? And he went, oh no. He said, can you just have one more picture? I said, go on, he took a picture. And then I started getting a bit paranoid. Then I was driving home and I thought, imagine if I woke up in the middle of the night and fucking opened the curtain and he was like that on the window ledge. You know, his mind started racing.
Can I get a picture?
Well, I've had, you know, we've been chased. I was chased out of a club once, you know, by fellas in a car trying to get me.
So where was this?
We were doing a show in Stoke and there was a couple of girls on with me. And it was a great night, Silverdale Rugby Club. It was a great night. And Silverdale, it's in Stoke, but the history of it, a lot of the lads said, a lot of the people that lived down there, they were originally from the northeast, but they came down for the mining after the war, you know, the coal mines and things. But a lovely crowd. Now, this was going back 30 years, 35 years. So much so that the girls got in the back of the car, I got into this Ford Capri. So these fellas come up to me, started banging on the window. I said, what do you want? And this fella said, you fucking crap. I said, fuck off. So this fella got me aerial. You don't see aerials now, do you? Yeah. Antennas on a car.
Yeah.
Got the aerial and fucking slapped it. So I jumped out of the car. I said, what you have, you fucking dickhead? And I pushed him. So he went, come on, Billy. And the two of them it was at the time, they walked away. So the next thing is, we're driving right in the middle of the countryside. We're driving through the countryside like these B roads. Just me headlights, it was pitch black. So one of the girls from Oldham, she was, the star, she went, Frankie! I said, what's up? She said, there's a fucking car behind us, tried to rob us. I said, no, there's not. The next thing is bang! He got a load of lads in this car, see, chasing us, trying to stop me, to give us a good idea. So I'm driving like, oh, fucking hell. So I'm driving ahead, you know, even though I was going a bit fast, 60, 70, just up and down, and fucking over this bridge, up the hill, couldn't see any of the cars. And they weren't really catching up to us. The next thing is, bang, nearly knocked us off the road. You know, I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? So the girls started screaming, you know, they were really scared. I said, what the fucking am I going to do? So the road widened a little bit. And where it widened, there was a little kind of a lay-by. So you don't really see them now, or you do. I think I've seen them. Your crew clock they used to have in the 80s. You put on your steering wheel like a metal bar to stop people, and you lock it with a key.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's got this yellow crew clock from... Anyway, So I could see them. They were coming over this bridge, the fucking lights and all that. I said, oh. So I pulled up and I grabbed the crew clock. So as they're coming over the bridge, I went bang like that and through the crew clock, right through the windscreen, and they were straight into a field. So great, fucking great. So this goes, oh, Frankie, what have you done? You might have killed him, you might have killed him. I said, no, just put him off the road. So I'm driving. So the next thing is, they're behind us with all the fucking screen out, like Carrie, you know, like that movie Carrie.
I've not seen
Have you seen it with the car comes alive and it goes down knocking everyone over? The car was called Christine. Oh, not Carrie, Christine it was called, yeah. Everybody knows it. So like Christine, as I was trying to bump us again, what the fucking hell's this? So anyway, we got into Newcastle-under-Lyme. It was all lit up then. I saw this roundabout. I saw this police car. Never been so glad in my life to see a police car. So blowing the horn and all that. So they stopped. I stopped at the roundabout. I said, we're getting chased. These fellas are trying to kill us. So the next thing is, they came round. It was comical because they come round. You could see them as clear as day because there's no windscreen. The fella, they were soaking wet, you know, driving in the rain. So the police got them. So we had to go to the police station and give a statement. And I said, you know, to the police, I had to throw something at them. I thought they were going to kill us. And he just said, okay. You know, it was all right.
So I just want to transition slightly. Obviously, off camera, we were talking about a latest podcast that we'd done with you and Stefan. Obviously, he's into his ghost stories and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And you said that you were very interested in that world.
Well, I am only because I've had a lot of experiences myself. Don't forget, if you're driving around the UK at night for like 40 years, you're going to see some strange things, aren't you? You're going to see the odd thing. And the notable ones, about 9 or 10 years ago, a friend of mine, we were in the car together, been up to a club, Hensingham Rugby Club, which is in the Lake District. And we were on the way home. And we were going down, again, you go into a lot of these places, very scary. I used to come home on my own in the pitch black, you know. I remember coming home from one place, and I was running out of petrol. I'd been old Flamingo Land in Scarborough, and I had to drive over the Yorkshire Moors in the pitch black. I saw this sign, Battle of Marston Moor or something. Battle of Stamford Bridge, 1642. And I'm terrified. I thought, I'm going to see a fella with his head under his arm in a minute. You know, some places it can be scary. Yeah, but me and Roger, a mate of mine, were driving home, and we were just driving down the road. And I saw this fella at the end of the road. But it looked a bit weird because he was very bright. I can see you now, look around the room, but it was too bright. It was as though you were watching a movie in the pictures. Right. Very bright. I said, that's bright, wasn't it? And the fella just standing there, see him as clear as day. He had long hair over his ears. He had like a polar neck sweater on. And he had a pair of pants, and they were like flares, bell bottoms from the 70s. And he had his thumb out like that. So as I'm pulling towards him to stop, he jumped in front of the car. But he jumped in front of the car as though he didn't move his knees or his shoulders or whatever. He just fell. Just fell in front of the car, disappeared. So I reversed the car. I knew I had hit him somehow, you know. Oh, so I was shouting under the car, "You all right, mate? Is anybody there?" So my mate who was in the car, he realised before me that it was a ghost, and he just started crying, you know. "Frankie, let's fuck off. Get out of here. Get out of here," and all that, you know. And I was more curious, really, as to what it was. So I'm looking around, couldn't see anything, I just drove home. So the upshot was, the next day, my mate phoned me 7 o'clock in the morning. He said, "I haven't slept a wink," and all that. I said, "Really?" He said, "I'm terrified." So when it got to 10 o'clock, he phoned the club that we'd been on in Whitehaven, in the Lake District. Hensingham Rugby Club. He phoned the club up, and this guy answered the phone. He must have been a caretaker or the cleaner or whatever. And he said, you know, very broad up there, and he went, "Everything all right?" So my mate said, "Yeah, I was with Frankie Allen last night. We'd done the club and everything. It was had a good night." He said, "Oh, are you sure everything's all right?" He said, "Well, not really." He said, "We had a bit of a bad experience on the way home." And he said, "Did you see the hitchhiker?" So he'd been seen before. And he said, "You won't be the last one to see him, and you're not the first." So, and I looked in a book, or he's done a bit of research on the internet, I should say, and I found out, it's well known, been seen many times, yeah.
That's so strange. And your friend described the exact same
Well, he was there. He got very upset. He kind of went hysterical a little bit, But it didn't affect me that way. I just, I knew what I'd seen was a ghost, but it was just kind of amused at it.
More like curiosity.
Yeah, I wasn't frightened.
Have you had any other experiences?
Yeah, I've had a couple of strange experiences, really. Comical ones, really, very funny. Which, I'll tell a story, but people will think I've made it up. But I haven't made it up. Even Will today, my own son, both of you'll go, well, yeah, but that never happened. But it did happen. So what happened is, I'm working in this club in Newcastle. This isn't a ghost thing, it's just a strange thing. So they had a special star night, they used to call it. They all have pies, peas and all that. And the club was only a very small club. And it was upstairs in this building. Anyway, when I walked in, there was a car, like a fucking big car, on the floor in front of the stage. So the fella's on the mic and he's going, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, star night tonight, we're elect. All the way from Liverpool, Frankie Allen is coming all the way from Liverpool. And we've got a star, and don't forget, raffle ticket tonight. Once a year, a major prize, and it's a car. We're raffling a car, you'll win a car tonight. So there's a fucking car right on the floor anyway. So I'm standing there and I went, okay. We're on the first floor or second floor, whatever you call it, we're raised. And I thought, hang on a minute. Went to the dressing room, there's no windows. There was a small window on the wall. So I'm looking around. And the stairs were only that wide. I started to think, how the fucking hell did they get the car up here? Anyway, I went on, they were a good crowd and all that. And a couple of times I said, I've got a car in my bedroom, And they never even laughed, So I said to the fella come in and I said, Billy, the typical concert secretary, hi, well, Frankie, I like you taking the mickey out of everyone. You're trying to make out of Barbara. Well, she's been very ill, Barbara. She's been very ill, but I like you taking the mickey out of her. So next thing he paid me and all that. I said, listen, I'm not being funny. He said, see the car, is there any more? No, we haven't done it. You get off, you go. You got a long way to drive, you go home. He said, we don't do the raffle till 10:30. I said, oh, okay. So I said, not being funny, how did you get the car in the club? I said, but upstairs, it's just a fucking big car. So he went, I don't know. Oh, you've got me there, Frankie. You've got me there. I tell you what I'll do with you. I'll find out for you. So I went, okay. So he fucked off. He talked to this fella behind the bar. So he went, come here, Frankie. He was in the dressing room. He said, listen, he said, it is a bit of a puzzle. He said, I don't know how the car got here. He said, because the car, it's a second-hand car, mind. He said, Billy Edwards got the car. He said, and I can't ask him how he put it in the club because he's in Mallorca. So I went, oh, okay. And on the way home, I was freaked out, you know.
Yeah, just strange.
I mean, it was so weird.
Yeah.
Had I gone through a time warp or something?
See, I that reminded me exactly of a story I had about literally three and a half months ago. So I was doing a charity run down the canal. And my brother, my sister and my dad were doing it with me. So they're on the bikes behind me and I'm running. And I've been running for hours and hours at this point. And I passed this guy and he had a baseball cap on. And I wear a lot of Under Armour gear, like yourself. So I specifically remember him wearing an Under Armour shirt, had the cap on, he had a dog, like a boxer dog.
Okay.
So I ran past this guy, and I'm not running dead fast, but I'm running, and he's walking. And he just kind of like nodded to me, said hello, thought nothing of it. I've been jogging 10 more minutes, like that direction, he's walking that way. Come past the same fella again with the same dog. And as I passed him, I just thought, but then like I said, I've been running fucking 6 or 7 hours at this point. I thought, am I just fucking fucked here? So I like, turned to my sister and gone, and then she goes, we've just seen that guy. And then my dad's like, yeah, we've just... And then we
definitely the same fella?
Definitely the same fella. And all three of us said the same thing. Because I turned, and as I turned, she went... I could see on her face, she was like thinking about something. And as I made eye contact, she was like, "Did you see?" And I was like, "Yeah, that guy. Like we've seen him, didn't we? Like 15 minutes ago." She's like, "Yeah." And I just thought to myself, there's no fucking way he could have got there. As walking, he'd have had to like get to a bridge, drive, and then come back to even physically be there. But that was exactly like that. So now we're thinking, how the fuck have I just passed you? Like, so fucking weird. But that's the only time I've ever had anything.
I've had a few strange things happen to me, not just ghosts. Here's another thing that happened to me. This is a puzzle, and it's strange that we've just been in Rill this week. Because I'll tell you what the year it was. It was 1989, coming into 90. I got a job in Llandudno or Llandudno, however you say it, in North Wales, not far from Rill. So with a couple of girls, strippers, we'd done a great show in this RAF place, RAF club. So driving, now this is true, I don't know how it happened. You might say, Frankie, you've gone the wrong way, but no. I don't know whether you know North Wales. Obviously, you'll know North Wales quite well. The coast road. You're on that coast road, you can't really veer off it, can you?
Yeah.
Llandudno, Conway, Abergele, Colwyn Bay,
Yeah.
Prestatyn, Real Prestatyn, Groningen, so that, you can't have it. Then you're into Shotton, really. So, I'd done this show and the girls got in the car, so we're just driving, we're just talking. The next thing, we come to the Conway Tunnel, all lit up. It's only a short tunnel, it's not like the Mersey Tunnel. We go through it and we're talking. And at the time, I don't think it had been built long. It was virtually brand new, So we're driving through the Conway Tunnel. Pembermar, great. Carrying on through Conway. Colwyn Bay, Abergele. Anyway, going right down. So we're driving and all of a sudden, we saw the sign for Connors Quay and Shotton. Shotton it was Shotton, just coming into Connors Quay and Shotton. So I saw the sign, you see the sign on the road, don't you? Shotton. So as we're driving, all of a sudden, sort of huge flash. Like someone putting a torch in both eyes. So what's that? And I looked, there was still driving, but everywhere was terribly bright. And when I looked, we were in the Conway Tunnel, going back the other way. Now, the girls had seen the sign for Connors Quay. We didn't go off that road. I've been going to North Wales since I was a kid. Somehow, we were transported back. Just in an instant. I didn't even notice. My hand was still on the steering wheel. But when I looked down on my hands, everywhere's bright, like bright yellow. And when I looked, and the girl started screaming, we were back in the Conway Tunnel.
How far was that?
What would you say? About 20 miles, in it 15 miles or something?
Good 20, yeah.
20, yeah. 20 miles from Connors Quay to Conway, it's got to be 20 miles, 22 miles or something. So I literally couldn't believe it. So I was so shocked. We drove on a little bit. And I'll never forget, we stopped at Twiggy Fitchy. Yeah. Stopped at Twiggy Fitchy just before you get to Pembermar. I went, oh my God, I had to get out, And it was a long time ago. There was no garages where you could get a drink or anything like that. So I was just sitting in the car. The girls would talk. How do you think it's happened, Frank? What do you think? Do you think we're going to die? What the fuck is it? No, I said, oh no, let's just go back, So I said, I think we'll go back to Hollypell. Get on the 55, which we did. Yeah. But who's to say what happened? I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Fuck that stuff.
You can't believe it, can you?
Yeah, it's strange, that.
I mean, if the girls were here now,
yeah,
they'd tell you, that's what happened.
I think that's
the strangest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you hear stories like that. When you have obviously when you hear it from a one-off, it's like fair enough, you take them at the word. But then when you hear it from the same, people who were there and they say the exact same thing, like with that, with
very
the girls,
weird.
Like with me, my sister and my dad said exactly the same, and you think, what the fuck,
Well, more things in heaven and earth that are dreamt of in your philosophy of ratio. Hamlet said it as Hamlet in it. We don't know, I mean, at the end of the day, strange things happen and you go, but I've researched what happened to me and I saw a few things. It was a bit frightening really on YouTube, and it went on about you can be teleported somewhere and all that, And then I started looking at these time shifts, people of going back in time or going forward.
Yeah. Because that Ewan talks about one on Bold Street. He says there's loads of stories of people walking down Bold Street. Have you been? Do you know Bold Street in Liverpool?
Bold Street.
And he says as they're walking down, there's multiple people.
Well, the Bold Street incident is probably the most famous time slip. You've heard about it, haven't you? You've seen it. Have you heard about it?
I've heard about different stories, but
Well,
I'm not
what
sure about
happened was, the true story is, I've read, Tom Sleeman wrote a book, the ghostwriter, and one of the things that happened to me featured in his book. I'll tell you about that another time. But apparently what had happened, there was an American show. They sent the Yanks over here filming in Bowl Street. What had happened was, 1991, a policeman, an off-duty policeman shopping in Bowl Street, saw a fella running up the street, a security guard, chasing a shoplifter. So he tried to help him. He ran, and he was running across Bowl Street. And as he was running across Bowl Street, an old-fashioned motorbike and sidecar went past. And the shop that was facing him had changed completely. The whole of Bowl Street had changed dramatically. It was very like 50s. And instead of being Waterstone's bookstore, it changed into Cripps, which they found out it used to be in the 50s. Cripps was kind of like, you could buy shoes and handbags at women's store. So he said he couldn't believe it. He said he had a terrible shock, and everybody's walking around in like old-fashioned clothes. So he goes into the store, and he saw a young girl, and the girl was in present-day 1990s clothing, and she was hysterical. He said, "What the fuck's going on? What's this? What's this?" Anyway, he came out back onto Bowl Street, and these old cars were going by. So he started walking up the street, and then suddenly, he's back in 1990. And this American network that done the documentary about it, what one fella said, Liverpool has got a lot of underground railways. It's in a figure 8.
Right.
And one of the figures, one of the circles, goes right under the old bombed out church at the top of Bowl Street, St. Luke's.
Right.
And this guy said, my theory is they're producing a magnetic field which can alter time and space, go back to the 50s.
Fucking mad, isn't it?
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But whether or not it's a fictional story, you just don't know, do you?
But you do hear multiple people saying the exact same things about
so
these time slips.
You've got to kind of say, leave your mind open to it.
Yeah, yeah. But you mentioned about YouTube a minute ago in terms of like you doing some sort of vlogging of late.
Yeah, we do the vlog. The vlog's fantastic. We've been doing it for a couple of years. I didn't really think when we started doing it that it would take off the way it did, because what happens is me and Will are in the car, and he starts filming me. And after time I was saying, Will, don't fucking film. I don't want to be filmed. Then we're going to places, travelling. For instance, we went up to the northeast. He's filming me on the way there. We're having a chat in the car. We get to the club, filming me in the dressing room, filming the crowd, filming the audience. When we come off, when they're doing the meet and greet, filming all that, filming it when we come out. If we go into a chip shop on the way home, we films all that. We get back in the car. And there's been a few really good ones where, we got lost in North Yorkshire. There was a detour diversion. I was driving pitch fucking black, and Will's filming me. And all of a sudden I shouted, "What the fuck's that?" And it was a sheep right in front of the car. But it was so frightening because we hadn't seen anything for an hour. And very funny, and they really took off. People are very interested in them, and kind of like, basically, because I don't like being filmed, I'm always trying to get them to shut it off. You can see it's not contrived. It's
it's created almost like a bit of a skit.
Yeah. Skit. So they've been doing very well. Great, yeah.
Yeah, it is surprising what people will watch, because you think why would people be interested in that?
Why would you want to watch it?
But then, like I said, like that Erling Haaland, the new footballer, Man City. He's just done. He does like vlogs, doesn't he, on YouTube, and they get millions of views overnight because people are just interested in what people do.
They're just curious, you'd be surprised. I don't know. I can't see. I mean, I'd have to watch somebody else do it, but just travelling in a car, it doesn't seem to be going to a gig. It doesn't seem to me anyway.
But obviously, because you're a comic, just listening to you the way you're talking, like storytelling and whatnot.
So it's great, it's fantastic. We're doing very well now. We're all over the UK. We were in North Wales, Lancaster. They were a great crowd up there, and you can have a laugh. And what I do, which kind of separates me from other comedians as well. I always do. I shouldn't really say this. I do a little bit of homework on places.
Okay.
So Lancaster. When I looked up Lancaster, I knew a little bit about Lancaster. I knew it was a Roman town. But when I looked it up last week before we went up there, I didn't know they used to do a lot of witch trials there. Yeah.
I can see it.
So when I went on stage, obviously all the locals would know. So I said, hey, love, weren't you on a fucking ducking stool last week? You were on the witch trials, weren't you? And you could see they were all laughing like hell. They all knew, you know, that they had witch trials in Lancaster. I said, fucking hell. I said, what a town this is. And somebody was saying to me, when did they stop the witch trials in Lancaster? I said, I think it was last Tuesday. And they were all laughing, you know, people like self-depreciation, you know, they like to...
Laughing at their own
They like to be mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if it's how rough or how scruffy a place is, you know.
Yeah, but then obviously they appreciate you. You can tell that you've done your homework.
You can tell the story.
Yeah.
And where I've been lucky, you know, in a lot of ways, I'd say, is I've seen a hell of a lot of Britain, the British Isles. I've been abroad and things, but I've managed to see some beautiful places that I never would have seen because I've been travelling around the UK. I mean, when I went to Northern Ireland, there used to be a record out when I was a kid. It was called 7 Shades of Green. I saw all these fields on the side of a mountain, side of a hill, and they were all green, but every one of them was a slightly different colour green. It was amazing to look at. Now, if I wasn't a comedian, I never would have seen that, you know, never would have travelled probably to Northern Ireland. Been to Scotland, and even down south, the Midlands, some beautiful canals and things, some beautiful places in the British Isles, there really is.
What's been like a great life lesson that comedy's taught you?
People. I've met thousands, I've met millions of people. Majority of people during a lifetime are going to, you know, meet thousands of people. But because I'm on the clubs working, you know, 3 or 4 nights a week I used to work, maybe it's a couple of nights now, we're doing bigger venues, but I'm meeting hundreds of thousands of people. And it's really kind of, I can see a lot of good in people. I know there's bad people everywhere, but the majority of people in the UK are really sound people, good lads. You know, the lads are good lads. Just for instance, I've been to many places. We were up in Middlesbrough a few years ago, and we were doing this thing and all that, and I got talking to a couple of lads. Will was with me, and he said, oh, Frankie, we're going out, you know, into town, come with us. And then went out with them, and after about half an hour, felt as though I'd known them all my life, you know, just like you two. You know, so much in common. Having a laugh, do you want a drink, Frank? Or that bird's on you, that bird likes you, she's looking. It was just, you could be anywhere in the UK and you can make friends very easily. The people are very sociable, yeah.
Yeah. What's been one of the hardest lessons you've learned from comedy?
One of the hardest lessons I've learned that I've tried to kind of come to terms with in a way, and this isn't sour grapes really on my part. There's a lot of people who've kind of made it, you know, become multi-millionaires through comedy. They've gone straight from university onto the TV. They've never been around the clubs. They've never experienced what I've experienced or thousands of other comedians have experienced. So it's a little bit of an unfair thing. You're not really...
you're not
I've had some recognition, but I know a lot of comedians. I know there was great comedians that should have made it, you know.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Mickey Finn, brilliant comedian. Should have made it, but he was never given the kind of opportunity, never got a break kind of thing.
Yeah.
I always think, you can't be bitter about it. I always think there's probably some fellow working in a factory somewhere now who played for a school football team and is actually better than David Beckham. But when a scout from Man United or Liverpool or something, Arsenal came to the school, he was off ill or something. It's just fate, isn't it? But certainly, the best thing that's happened to me is being a comedian. It's opened my eyes to so many different types of people, some lovely people, you know. You get some idiots everywhere, you know, and it's very funny, some strange things, very funny things. And we're all up to date now. Everyone's in the 21st century. You might get the odd place that's still kind of a little bit... I won't mention where I went. Well, I will. This fucking place, Barnoldswick or something. Anyway. So these lads are queuing up for pictures and women at the end. So I'm looking at this fella, and he's got these long sideburns down. He's only about 25. He's got a long sideburn like that. Like an Edwardian, you know. So I said, when I looked at a suit on, a pinstripe suit, like something from the 70s, and a pair of yellow Dr. Martin boots. So I said, all right, mate, when you come for a picture. I said, are you an extra in a film? He went, oh, no. I said, no. I said, what's... You've not pork chop, mutton chops they call them, don't you? Never seen that. Like something from the 18th century.
Yeah.
I said, what's going on with the sideboard? And he went, he said, or keep up with fashion, me. You know, a little bit behind.
Just a bit of a gimp.
Yeah. So you get a little bit like that. I remember once, went to this club in Barrow-in-Furness, it was 1982, and I went in. I had a little fucking car at Hillman in Southern. It took me 5 hours to get there. It was in the countryside north of Barrow-in-Furness, Ulverston. So I got there early. I remember I was on good money, so I wanted to make sure I'd done it well, you know. So I got in there, and behind the bar, they had a glass oven from one end of the bar right to the other. So the next thing, the fellow comes from behind the bar, and he comes to his desk and he goes, "Hello, Frankie." He said, "How long do you do?" I said, "Well, at the time I could do about 35, 40 minutes. I said, "I'll do 40 minutes for you, about the longest I can do." And he went, "Oh, hang on." He said, "Oh, let's see. You're going on at 9 o'clock?" I said, "Yeah." He went, "Oh, could you do 30 minutes? Or could you go on at 10 to 9 till 9:30? I said, "Okay." I said, "Anyway," I said, "Are you the MC for the night?" "Oh, no," he said. I said, "You're the secretary of the club?" "Oh, no." I said, "Why?" He said, "I'm Tony." He said, "I'm the pieman." So I said, "What do you mean?" "Frankie," he said, "what happens here?" He said, "I'm responsible." He said, "They love the mushy peas and pies here. If they're cold, there's hell to pay." I said, "Yeah." I said, "How does that involve me?" "Well, Frankie, I'll put pies in oven. See the glass oven there? Pies and peas and black pudding." I said, "Yeah." "They'll be queuing up like nobody's business later on." He said, "If I put them in and I leave them, you know, on like warm, you know, gas mark 4 or something like that. Now you go on and you walk off after your 20 minutes, you have a bad time. You've done 20 minutes." He said, "They all flood to the bar. They get the pies to be fucking freezing." He said, "And who gets the blame?" He said, "Me." He said, "If you can assure me that you'll do at least half an hour, I'll let you go on at 9 o'clock. I said, "Okay." Anyway, they were a good crowd. They were an easy crowd that went on. And every now and then he was giving me the thumbs up. All that, you know. Fucking hell, telling jokes. With a girl in a wedding dress with a big bottle of beer, like Guinness or something. She was drinking it like that, you know. I said, "Have you got married?" Anyway, went for about 10 minutes without getting any laughs. Then this fellow walked past. And I said, "Hasn't he got big ears?" It wasn't even a joke, you know. Fucking like a bomb going off. Everyone's screaming, howling, laughing. And the fellow said, "Oh, that's Eddie! Comedian took the piss out of Eddie." Fucking hell, you know. Anyway, 9:30, and I had a watch down, and I looked at it, 25 to 10, and he just gave me a thumbs up. So come off, next thing, flooded to the bar, you know. So when I come off, you know, eventually on the way home, he came up to me. And I said to him, I said, "I'll take the piss out of this fella. You give me these pie and peas and black pudding and all that loads." And he said, "Have these on your way home. Have these way home." What did he call it? Snap. A little bit of snap or something. Right, okay. Yeah, bit of snap for you, bit of snap for you. He said, "You've done very well there, Frankie. You've done very well. Thank you for that." He said, "You've done exactly 35 minutes. He said, "Oh, pies were done to a turn. You were done to a turn." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, I said, if I come back again, put me on gas mark 3 and the pies are on." Right? I said, "If I'm having a bad time, if I'm dying, turn the gas up." And he went, "What a brilliant idea." He said, "That's brilliant." Anyway, fucking franked me a little bit. I said, "These are kind of like
cultish.
Going back to the Middle Ages, you know,
yeah.
Like you've gone through a time warp." Fucking hell. Anyway, I just went there. I never ever went back there.
What would you say is one of the most misunderstood things about Frankie Allen?
Misunderstood. You get to... people like to add on things, tell lies, exaggerate. Exaggeration.
Like them comedians.
Well, no, on every comedian, everyone's looking. You hear stories just in general life, or you'll hear stories about conspiracies. About, you know, somebody will say so-and-so... conspiracy about Diana, a dodified conspiracy about some idiots were saying, "Oh, the royal family are fucking reptiles." People just love to make things up. But you'd be surprised how many people believe it, you know. Anyway, quite disturbing, really, this fellow said. This fella worked in a bank, and he phoned me up, and he said to me, I want to be a comedian, Frank. He got me number from somewhere. Can you help me? And I said, okay. And I said, okay. So he came down, and I was teaching him, writing the script with him and everything like that. Anyway, I spoke to a friend of mine who knew him, a guy, Jimmy O, he's a comedian in Wigan, a good lad. And he says, yeah, he mentioned the guy's name, and he said he went to your house. I said, that's right. I said, what did he say? He said, do you want me to tell you what he really said? so I said, go on. He said, I went to Frankie Allen's house. He's a big gangster. He was sitting on this big chair with no shirt on. His face is all smashed in, where he's been fighting all his life round the clubs. I went, that's fucking horrible, that. And then I thought, you dirty bastard, fancy making something up like that. And then he said, did you hear about him in Manchester? And Jimmy said, no, why, what happened? He was doing this club. He said he called his fella like fat, or he insulted him. The fella didn't like it. He says, so the fella rolled up and he stabbed Frankie in the head. He says, so Frankie just carried on telling jokes with this knife in his head. I went, oh, this is just fucking stupid. And it really upset me, you know.
Yeah.
I said, what a load of fucking rubbish.
Like as if they just wanted to exaggerate to get a bit of attention.
You kind of go over the top.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell lies. Exaggerate. And really, every comedian's different. A lot of rivalry with comedians. A lot of comedians don't like each other. And they have a lot of trouble over material. You know, you're using my material, I'm using your material. And they do steal each other's material. But anytime you speak to a comedian, all they do is have a go at other comedians, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want him on your club. You don't want him on your club. He's blue, he's blue. But it's been a great life for me. It's been fantastic. And I've been very lucky. When Will was a baby, we were going away on a holiday, me and his mum and myself, and we booked for 10 days. I was having a bad time, really. Didn't really have any work. And what happened, we were flying off on the Tuesday. My phone was going to get a cut off. It was only landlines in those days. So I had to pay £300 for my phone on a Friday. I had a job on Saturday for 200 quid. I had no money in the bank. Nothing. It was just like a desert. When I went to the Santander, what the fuck? There's nothing in there. Now, I had to go on holiday on the Tuesday morning. Saturday, I wasn't speaking to my brother to get money off him. No one else could get money off. So I thought, all I've got, I had like about 80 quid. I said, what the fuck, I can't go. Just couldn't go. So I was nearly in tears, so I thought, I'll have to phone up and, you know, tell Will he can't go and everything. So Monday rolls along, Monday morning, so the phone goes. So I said, hello, Frankie. So I said, all right, mate. Frankie, fucking hell, I'm glad I got hold of you. I said, okay, let me get my diary. I said, what's the date? Oh, no, he said, it's tonight. I said, money tonight. What is it? And it was down in Leek near Uttoxeter. The fellow was putting a show on. He said, I've got this show on. He said, I had a fellow booked that was coming down from Newcastle. He mentioned his name. Won't mention his name, you might know him. And he said, he was coming down, but he's phoned me up and he said, he's sick, he can't make it. So I said, oh my God, I might be able to go here. So this is about 1994, 95 or something. For the sportsman's evenings, you get about 250 quid, 300 quid. So I was getting about 300 quid then, 250. I said, all right, Eddie. So I knew I had him over a barrel, really. I said, how much will you give me for tonight? He said, this bastard was coming down from Newcastle, he said. I was going to give him £400. He said, if you turn up tonight, Frankie, at 5 o'clock, he said, I'll give you £400. I said, I'm going on holiday. I'm going. I've got about 80 quid, 480. Go on the holiday, we were half bored. After a few days, just said, lost me money. We're there. Anyway, listen to this. This is Sue as I'm sitting here. So I flew down there. I was there in the car park at 3 o'clock, reading the paper. The All-Stars are coming in about 6. Went on, done the show. It was great. One of the old England goalies was the speaker. So the fella come up to me and he said, Frankie, that was brilliant. Give me the 400 quid. Put it in my pocket. So this little fella came up to me. I'll never forget what he looked like. Little bald fella. And he went, are you all sick, Scousers? I said, what do you mean? Don't you want your money? No, I'd been paid by one fella, and it must have been a mix-up about who pays who.
Right.
So he gave me £400. Now, I'm a Scouser. I'm not going to say, excuse me, you've made a mistake. I've already been paid. I flew out the fucking club like lightning. It was one of these revolving doors, and I went round twice. Jumped in my car, flying down the road, and the police stopped me. I was going that fast, but I didn't care. You know about the police or anything, they just checked me details. You're going a bit fast, you know. But I was round the corner, I was gone, they couldn't see me. I was gone. So I was screaming, laughing to myself like a maniac on the way home. And I got all the money and I threw it on the passenger seat and I was going, Rah! So I got home. The next day we were going to Mallorca. I had 80 quid, £800 that I got from the gig on the Monday night. £80 that I only had about £80, so that's £880. Putting my pants in a suitcase, £60 fell out. I nearly had £1,000. And how it worked out, we were flying on, you know where you're going, but you're only there for, you go on for 9 days, but you're only there for 8 nights or some fucking thing. So one of the days had gone anyway, you know what I mean? Like a millionaire, like a multi-millionaire. I always say to myself, the stage has been very good to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's been like an angel, like a guardian angel, where I thought
that it was so bad.
No, there was no holiday for me.
Yeah,
you know. Very embarrassing. I was on the holiday like a millionaire. So things can happen. Yeah, it's very strange. It's been a fantastic life, and I'm still living it. And now, you know, it's got to the stage where everybody knows me, so I'm getting photographed every day. Everybody, you know, stops me for pictures wherever I go. It's great. And sometimes a little bit. I was in a garage the other day, and I pulled up at this garage, and the area, I must say what the area was in, it was a little bit rough. I saw these two fellas on bikes, but they looked like smackheads. They had masks on, and these big hoods, they're on these bikes. And they come up to my car, I was in the garage getting petrol. So this fella's knocking on the window. So I wound the window down, and he's looking at me, and I went, fuck off. And he went, oh, all right, Frankie. I just want a picture, you know, Frank. I said, what? He said, we follow all your stuff. I went, oh, sorry about that. You just want the picture. You can't judge a book by its cover, can you?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, mate, give me something, or pull a knife out or something. He looked like real rough, you know. But you can never tell.
Just going off prior experience.
Another thing before we go, I've got to tell you this one. I'm doing this show. This is another show that I went there with hardly any money, but made a load of money. It's in Wimslow in Cheshire.
Wimslow, yeah, very posh.
Very posh. And it was for this, I think it was called Rotary Club or something they called. They were all kind of like black tie and tuxedos and everything like that. All these beautiful suits, it was all men that they had on. So I'm telling jokes. So the next thing is, somebody put me in a headlock behind me. I couldn't get out of it. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I was pulling and pushing. Everyone was laughing. It was this fella, was huge, like a mountain. He had me in this. Anyway, the next thing is, I felt this burning in my mouth. This fucking burn. I thought, what the fuck's this? Anyway, what it was, he was rubbing boot polish into my face. See? Now, they were all very wealthy lads, all lawyers, solicitors, doctors and all that. They were a good crowd, though. They were good lads. I think this is quite funny, because they all had hired suits, very expensive suits and white shirts. Some of the lads went around with boot polish, and as they're talking to someone, they go like that and put boot polish on the shirt. You know, infantile, isn't it? Very silly, but it's kind of funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or when someone was looking, just going, oh, look at that boot polish on your shoulder, where? So, and I could see a few had black marks on them, but I didn't really put two and two together. So I went, oh my God, what even? So he let go in the end. So I went to the toilet. So the fellow who was running the show, he came in. And he went, Frankie, I'm terribly sorry. It was Donald. He's gone too far. So I said, oh my God. And he straight away, you see, I was going to get a few quid off them. Look at me shirt. Look at me suit. It was £35 from the Asda, the suit. I went, look at me suit. Oh. So anyway, Frankie, I'm terribly sorry. He said, okay, oh. Look, so the big fat fella come on, he said, I'm terribly sorry. He said, I didn't mean to go in your face. He said, I don't know my own strength. He said, I wanted to put it on your shirt because we've all got boot polish. And he said, look at me, they damned me as well. And I went, hey mate, I can't go back on stage now. Fuck it, the shirt's ruined. Look at me suit. But the suit was 30 quid, 35 quid. I can fuck his sack. So he went, Frankie, look, this is what we're giving. It's just a moment. So he's having a word with this fat fella. He pulled out his fucking money, like £2,000 with an elastic band, you know. He said, Frankie, he said, how much are you on tonight? What did the agent charge you? I said, I should have been on £200. Right. Well, look, he said, I'll give you £500. And all that. So the other fellow went like that. Frankie, he said, I'm terribly sorry about what's happened. He said, I don't know what to do. He said, you're not going to report me, are you? I said, who to? The police. I said, what's going to do with the police? He said, Frankie, I'll give you £400. I said, okay, £900 fucking pound. So I said, he said, you wouldn't go back on? I said, I don't give a fuck, I'll go back on. So I went back on. So I'll never forget, I said something, and because of what had happened to me, you know, with the polish, I was very nervous. I stammered and stuttered. This fellow stood up and he went, he's got verbal dyslexia. He's got verbal dyslexia. So I went, what does that fucking mean? I don't know what it means. And this other fellow went, I wouldn't expect you to. Where you're from. Anyway, I said, you bastards, you ruined me suit. And they were all clapping and going crazy and all that. And then I knew then what they were after, you know, they wanted me to flatter them.
Yeah.
So I said, gentlemen, I've been in the roughest places in the UK. No one has ever done this to me. Boot polish on my best suit. And they were all like, and the fellow would go, it's on your collar. And this other one said, it won't come off, you know. And I went home, 900 quid.
Yeah.
You can't believe it, can you? Things that you think. What I found down south, working down south quite a lot with the Cockneys, very different than up here. They pay you. And then they go, right, here's whatever you're on, £400, £500. Here's a drink, here's a drink. When they first said it to me, I was looking around for a fucking drink.
I mean, extra money,
they always give you like 25% of what you're on. You're on £400, they always give you 100 quid or £200. And it's, here's your money, here's your drink. That's for everything, you know. Fucking crazy, the different like slang terms and everything.
Yeah.
And working in London, he went, how much you want tonight? You on a carpet? I went, what? You on a carpet tonight?
Like
I said, a fucking carpet. Means 500 quid or 300 quid or something. Fucking. I said, what do you mean it's a fucking carpet? I'm not on the carpet.
It's like a Liverpool, they say that you're on 3 ton.
3 ton, yeah. 3 ton. It's strange, isn't it? So as I say, we thoroughly enjoyed it. Will has got like a big fan club now, you know, all the girls are after him in the clubs and things, handsome lad. So, and I'm doing well, we're doing very well, you know, we're booked out, so it's amazing, fantastic.
So what is next for you over the next few months?
You'd have to speak to Will. Do you want to speak to Will for a few minutes and get into...
Yeah, we can.
Come up?
The Frankie Allen show continues, but what is next for Frankie over the next few months?
The Frankie Allen show continues, mate, yeah. We leveled the show up. I've done some huge shows. But I think the key for us now is trying to get as much clips out and some viral content as much as we can. I mean, Frankie originally went viral in 2018. You know, that's kind of where his profile rose. But as well as the fact that we've elevated the profile so much and getting him into like venues where he's selling out like 700 tickets, 1,000 tickets and stuff like that, I think momentum's everything, mate. So, you know, soon we can get some new clips out, soon as we can get some more fans in, more eyes on the content, because people love that style of content. So
100%.
yeah.
Do you ever do like clips at the shows where you go to the show and you film?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We film pretty much everything. The dilemma that we have is if you put the content out from every single show, you're going to ruin it for the live audience.
Yeah, of course.
So at the moment, we've just been doing our vlogs, which are behind the scenes stuff, which has been going really well. But the goal for next year moving on is to keep that flowing, but also to give people what they want, which is people will be going, oh yeah, this vlog's great, but you only shown 2 minutes of the stand-up clip. It's like, yeah, I know, because
it's like exclusive content.
Yeah,
you don't want to give them too much, but then you need to give them something.
Of course, and the audience interaction things always go great. You know what I mean? You put some clips out of Frankie where there's a bit of audience interaction. You know, it's guaranteed to do like millions of views. So more we can do that, mate, the more we can elevate the profile, the more we can get new people in, and ultimately it's all about putting smiles on people's faces and making them laugh. So that's the key.
So he's got some shows at the Hot Water Comedy Club around here. What dates are those?
Yes. So depending on when this podcast goes out, they may still be upcoming. So we've got, for Liverpool specifically, there's 2 dates that are at Hot Water Comedy Club. One, a Christmas special on December the 11th, which is a Thursday evening. That's almost sold out. So if you can get tickets for it and this podcast's out by then, get your tickets for it. If not, we'll see it again in February. But all over the UK, you know, we've got all the tour shows listed on Frankie's website, frankieallen.co.uk. And look forward to seeing you all at the show soon, and you guys as well.
Of course. How long do you think your dad will stay in comedy and keep?
Well, he wants to. He said there's a fable, or not a fable. It's a truth, a reality of this fella who died on stage, and he feels so comfortable on stage and loves that so much that he wants to be on stage for as long as possible. So people are always saying to me, "Oh, you think your dad will pack in anytime soon?" I'm like, not a chance. So for me, it's more about the more he works, the better he feels. So I used to be like, right, okay, well, we'll only do a select tour run and do huge venues. He's like, okay, well, really, I want to be out every night of the week. So, well, we can't be out every night of the week, but at the same time, we could do Thursday to Sunday in smaller venues, split that across. I just can't go to all of them, unfortunately. You know what I mean? The travelling takes it out of you.
What do you think of the new Blackstock market? Obviously, it's just pretty much.
Oh, mate, it's fantastic. We did a Father's Day show in there in June, which was the first time we'd been to the venue. So impressed by it. Especially from a comedy setup, because we did the show in the afternoon, the Frankie Allen headline show, and then we went to watch Jimmy Dore, who's a friend of ours, an American comedian, afterwards. We went to watch his show. So I got to experience it from a performer perspective, because I hosted that show in the daytime, which was an afternoon event, and then the evening I watched it from an audience perspective. So just as a performer, it's magic, because it makes every laugh feel 20 times bigger, and the intimacy of it, you've got people that are literally right in front of you, whereas we might go to theatres and you've got a gap which is like, you know, a couple of meters at least from the audience, so that level of intimacy is different. And it still fits like 529 in the main room, so it's a large space. Like,
what do you think sets it apart from a lot of places, apart from the distance and the intimacy?
Well, it's the largest purpose-built comedy venue in Europe. In terms of the actual main room itself, the auditorium, I mean, a 529 cap, you know, taken into comparison, if you're looking at like a theatre like the Brindley Theatre in Runcorn, that's only 380, but it looks like a much bigger space. So as a comedy club setup, you manage to pack people in, it's rammed to the rafters. You've still got loads of people in there, but it still gives that intimate feeling and that intimate sense.
Yeah, because like Reece went the other night and he went watching an act, and he said like how good it was with the food, and like, you know, you have your like little, you know, your social area where you go, you can have something to eat, and then obviously the comedy club is in the other part. It just felt like something completely. It's almost taken the idea from the Baltic market of like, and then they combined a few different things with a comedy club. It's cool, mate. So it does sound brilliant.
So yeah, I'll wrap up now. But if anyone wants to come and see the live show, frankieallen.co.uk, you can check out all the dates on there. And big things coming for next year. So I'll let my dad finish off. Right, and lovely speaking to you.
To wrap up the show, we always ask our guests 3 quick fire questions almost. So what's the worst piece of advice you've ever been given?
It was actually only a couple of weeks ago, really, by my doctor. He gave me some tablets in a plastic bag. He had them in the doctor's surgery in the office, and he said, what's this? He said, take 1 a day for the rest of your life. Anyway, went in the car, got in the car, had a look, and only give me 3. Anyway, I phoned Will up, and I was crying, you know. He said, what's up, Dad? I said, what's fucking up? I said, I've just been a fucking doctor. He's giving me these tablets at 1 a day the rest of my life. He said, that's okay. I said, give me 3. He said, come up here. He said, I've got a big bread knife. He said, we'll cut them in half, he said. No, seriously, the three... What worst advice has been given to me?
The worst piece of advice you've ever been given?
With regard to the stage, your career?
Anything in life.
I'm not sure, really. It's probably somebody's recommended. I know a lot of lads, comedians years ago, used to recommend different clubs. You know, they'd say, you want to go to this club, you want to go to that club. But I had a particularly bad time in one club. And absolutely horrendous audience, never got paid, a terrible nightmare. And that came from a recommendation from a very good friend of mine. He was a comedian. And he phoned the club up. And I just had a terrible night. When I went on stage at this club, it was in Preston. There was a local young kid, about 15 or 16, who did an impression of Michael Bublé. And the secretary of the club said, do you mind if he goes on before you? And I said, don't put him on. But he went on, all his family were there, you know, and everything, like all cheering him and everything. So by the time I got on, he'd already brought the house down. I was on a hiding, so nothing, and I was just talking to the audience. Nothing back, no reaction, no laughs. They were all talking. People were coming in and out of the bar, hundreds of people, like a football match, all coming in. And I had a terrible, terrible time. You know, I've died in some places, been crucified, not paid, booed off, dragged off. Sometimes they'll close the curtain on you to get you off stage. I've been dragged off, or sometimes they have a drummer, you know, playing you on and off, and sometimes the drummer comes back on and starts poking you in the back with a drumstick to get you off. So I've had some bad times. But that was the worst advice ever. I'd go to that club. Because what happened after that, I was in the dressing room, and I must have been so kind of anxious, disorientated. I remember driving down the street, and I was driving. The next thing, I just didn't know where it was. And I was in a garage, and I looked in the mirror, and my hand went all funny, and my mouth went on its own. What the fuck's that? So I'm looking in the mirror again, it didn't happen again. Then all of a sudden I went... So the fella in the garage actually came out, knocked on the window, and he said, this Indian guy, and he said, are you all right, mate? He said, you've been here for half an hour. Fucking hell, you know. So you've got to be very careful. You can give everything to the stage, but you can't let it ruin your health.
Control you, yeah.
Yeah, but bad advice. Yeah, a couple of things have happened to me, you know, from, you know, kind of like... bad advice when I was in hospital, very ill once, and they said, have this operation, you know, this life-saving operation. And I said, no, refused it. That was bad advice. At the time, I was so weak and things, I think the operation would have killed me. They wanted to cut out half of my intestine, my stomach and things like that, and I just refused it, and I got better. So a lot of people give out bad advice, but I don't know. So you wanted 3. I'm just trying to think of the other one. Bad advice... Can't think.
What's some good advice? What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Best piece of advice was given to me, I'd say, stage, you know, because I staged my whole life, really. Best piece of advice given to me by a comedian called Eddie Archer. And he was a great comic, and he's no longer with us. Sadly, he was a good comic. And Eddie Archer, he was kind of like, you know, a lot older than me when I was starting off in my 20s, and I was going to places, didn't have the material, didn't have the charisma, didn't have the kind of confidence to be a comedian. And it's like being a lion tamer. You can't show you're afraid of the crowd. And I used to be very afraid, although now I'm absolutely fearless. So I was having a bad time in a lot of places. So I said to Eddie, what do you do when you're on stage and you're dying, no one's laughing at you? They're just looking at you as though you're talking to a door, but everybody's ignoring you. What do you do? He said, what you do, he said, you imagine, he said, it happens to me now and then, but he was a very, what you call a strong comedian. He was very good at the time. He said, just imagine that you're in Las Vegas. There's thousands of people, they've all come to see you. And just feel dead confident and just go through it. Don't rush it. Don't kind of like start stammering and stuttering. Just do your normal act and do your time and come off as though you've done well. And I started doing that, and that kind of like, people used to be, oh yeah, you know, he's confident, and to win him over that way. That was the best advice I've ever had. Yeah.
And then lastly, to you, what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life. This is very heavy, isn't it?
We always end on a deep one.
let's see, the meaning of life. I mean, I've been taught kind of a life lesson in many ways being on the stage, because when I was young, I was probably a bit cynical about people and things, and a bit kind of like, don't know, pessimistic. But I look at people now, all the thousands of people that I've met. You know, there's some, as I say, there's some fantastic, lovely people. You meet nice human beings everywhere. So that's a good thing. That's an important thing. The most important thing is my son, you know, who I idolise, my son, you know, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And on the stage, if it wasn't for Will, I wouldn't be where I am now, I wouldn't be famous. I wouldn't be earning like good money, big money. I wouldn't be on the clubs that I'm doing now. And it's just like a jigsaw puzzle. We complement each other. He organises all the work on the telephone and email and whatever, and he puts the dates in, negotiates fees. He's very good at doing contracts and things. I'm one of these fellas that can tell jokes. That's all I can do. I can't put a plug on a wire. I can't do it. You know, if somebody said, put that plug on a wire or you'll die, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be dead. So that's what it's all about. So Will has been a great, fantastic, best thing that's ever happened to me, really. It's really, if it wasn't for Will, I probably I would have gone viral, but nothing would have happened. It would have kind of pissed itself. It would have just faded. But Will made the most of it, monopolised on it, and got me to kind of explode. So that's a fantastic thing that's happened.
Yeah, so prioritising like a close connection, I guess. Yeah, Frankie, I can't thank you for coming on. I can tell just by speaking to you, like, comedy to you is not just like a job. It's like a lifestyle. It's like who you are down to the core. It's like even speaking with Will, then he said, oh, you know, it's like you wouldn't be able to live without this. Like the road on comedy is like, you know, how you live your life, and you know, you're always going to keep going with it. And I can see that as I talk to you.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic life for me, and I'm still living it. I've got a lot of recognition now, which is great, and it's taken me to a lot of places. I've worked abroad. We went to Tenerife. Me and Will went. He brought his girlfriend with him. 5-star hotel. Place was packed out, and they actually put an extra night on because they couldn't cope with the demand, you know, with all the Brits. Oh, Frankie's coming, you know, in Tenerife, let's go and see Frankie. Yeah. Then when we got there, they had carpenters there joining, making extra seats. There'd been such a demand, you know. Yeah. And it went on stage and just said something stupid like, oh, it's great being you know, British people. They only like British people, don't they? Something like that, you know. And everyone just started laughing and eat some black food. Yeah. It's just, it's great, but it kind of really reinforced my faith in human beings. As I've met some lovely people all over the UK, people that really go out the way to help you, you know. Yeah. There's a lot of good people. For instance, just a thing out the blue, I remember working in Crewe, and it was years ago, and my head gaskets had gone on the car. I couldn't drive the car. So this fella says to me, all right, Frank, he said, I tell you what, get the train down here. And he said, we'll try and get you on early so you get the last train. It was with 2 strippers. The club was right next door to the train station in Crewe. So I went on at 9 o'clock. Fantastic with the lads. Great. The last train was at 10:30. So he said, Frankie, bring the girls on. So I brought the girls on. Put your hands together for Sasha and all that. She done a little thing, 10:20. Brought the second girl on. So I said, give me money, I'm going to go now. So I ran out and I looked, it was 20:11, so I thought, I don't think I missed the train. So there was the train in there, so I just jumped on the train. So I'm standing there on the train, it started flying along. I thought, this is a funny train, this. Pitch black on the train. I said, there's no one on the train, it's only me. So I was walking up and down, there was no lights anywhere. So all the stations, Sandbach, Runcorn, all the stations on the way from Crewe to Liverpool, just flying through them like that. We got to Lime Street. It was going to Liverpool about 10 minutes. But then I couldn't get off and I had to bang on the window. Anyway, the driver it was that got off, he went, he opened the doors, he said, what the fuck are you doing on this train? I said, I've gone on a Crewe. He said, this is the maintenance train. He said, the last train was at 10 o'clock. You know? So, but I got home, but the funny things can help you out, you know. I remember once, as well, on the M58. I was with Will's mum and another couple of friends of mine. We were going down the M58 going up to Wigan. Anyway, steam all over the motorway, the car exploded. So the RAC came out. So the fella said to me, right, we can tow you home or to any address. I said, I'm supposed to be doing this army thing in Hindley and Wigan. He said, okay. He said, where is it? So he said, do you want me to tow you there? I said, tow me there. So he told me there. We got there at 10:30. And the fella's in the car park panicking, this army fella. I said, I'm awfully sorry, there's my car. He said, put the car down there. He said, come in. And I went in, and it wasn't really late. They were army lads, they'd been drinking, a few women and everything. I went on about 11:15. I had a fantastic night. So he said, Frankie, thanks for coming along. I can't believe your car broke down, but you've had the RAC to drag it up here. I said, well, I'll get someone to pick it up in the week. He said, oh no, he said. See that garage there? It was Standish, the place was called.
Standish, yeah.
He said, that's Standish Motors garage. I said, yeah. He says, my brother's. He said, leave it here, I'll have it ready for you during the week. Dead gasket, which was a couple of £100 at the time to get the job done. So I had a fantastic night in the club, went back on. They were there till 2 a.m, so I went on again at 12 o'clock, had a great laugh. Rotten fucking drunk, eating loads of sandwiches and all that. Got a taxi home, cost about 15 quid. And then he rang me on the Thursday. He said, Frankie, your car's ready. I said, all right. He went, I said, all right. I said, I'll get a taxi. No, he said, I'll drive it down. I'm covered for any car. This was his brother, you know. Drove it down to my house and I drove him home. So sometimes
things just work out.
they work out.
Yeah. It's maybe like before you were saying like, oh, you know, you feel like you didn't get the gratification years ago for like, you know, working hard. But then as you're going on, it seems almost like it's catching up with you.
It's catching up with me.
Like a delayed gratification. Maybe.
It's like a delay. I didn't get the recognition. And a lot of guys who were older than me didn't get the recognition and who were very, very good. And they're not with us anymore. Or some of them got a bit disheartened. Packed in. I know a few guys who've retired at 50, retired at 40, because they really felt as though they couldn't get anywhere. You know, it's very difficult getting off the ground. A few years ago, the only way that you could get off the ground and become a celebrity, become famous, was through the television. And what you had to do then, you had to work for an agent that used clean comedians. Then they would recommend you to Yorkshire TV or ATV, and then they'd come and look at you, and if they thought you were okay, but you had to be as clean as a whistle. Yeah. So people like me didn't have a chance of ever get. I'd never get on the television. Although I've done quite a bit of TV, you know,
but never like properly. Like,
I was on opportunities. I could work clean. I've done opportunity in Oxford Bournemouth County in '87. I've done a few things. The New Comedian Show for Sky. I can work clean. I prefer to be blue though.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm not really bothered. I mean, as things are now, it's like. It's a strange thing, you know. I'm still a bit of an 80s man, really, and I can't accept the way things have changed. For instance, we were working in a club in London, and it was called the Circus Tavern in the East End of London. So we'll say we're doing the Circus Tavern. Now, I remember the Circus Tavern from years ago. All the big stars used to do it. Tom Jones, Shirley Bassey. So I was a little bit nervous. The fucking hell, the Circus Tavern, you know. So I said, what's going on there? So anyway, so we're driving down there. So I started worrying. So I said, well, I mean, have you sold any tickets for this show? Have you sold any tickets? And he went, oh yeah, it's sold out. I said, how many's it? He said, about 800. I said, well, you sure they've sold tickets? I said, I'm not being funny. How do they know me? I live in Liverpool. Bit of a scally in Liverpool. I said, well, in London? He said, Dad, it's the phone. I said, I just can't understand it. So he went, no, you don't understand how it works. So we got down there. So we're outside. It was about 5 o'clock, and there's about 20 lads standing outside the club. So I said to Will, I think these lads are going to play pool or something in the room before we go in. Then they ran over, knocking on the window. Frankie, can we have a picture? They're waiting for me. Yeah. I thought, fucking hell. Weird. Cliff Richard, you know. What the fuck's going on? And when the video first went viral, Will got me a job in Plymouth. Anyway, no one had ever asked me for a picture before in my life, or an autograph, and nothing like that, nothing. I just work in the clubs, anonymous, like the Phantom of the Opera. You know. Some of the clubs would just be advertised as a comedy night. They wouldn't even bother putting your name, you know. So I had no name. Then when the video went up and went viral, Will said, I got you this job in Plymouth, and it's bloody good money, you know. It was the first job that we'd done with big money. So we got the train down to Plymouth, and I'm walking down, and these young kids were walking over, about 17, 18, and he walked over the road, and this fella walked right up to him. I'll never forget, it was weird, it was like a horror film. It was like The Day of the Triffids or something. This fella had blonde hair and very blue eyes. And he went, Frankie. I went, oh, how do you know my name, mate? Here, Frankie, can we have a picture? So everything these days is instantaneous, the way it's flying around, isn't it?
That's just the power of the internet, my friend.
Unbelievable. It's incredible. And the TV, really, basically a lot of old people watch TV, but nobody...
Yeah, it's gone now.
People watch Netflix and things, but nobody sits, you know, all day watching BBC and what the next programme, what's coming. It's all gone.
It's all YouTube now.
It's all YouTube, so it's fantastic. It's worked well for me.
100%.
You know, it really has worked great, fantastic for me.
Well, Frankie, I can't thank you enough for coming on, and me and Reese will definitely be coming and seeing you in December, so I can't wait for that.
We'll get you in, we'll get you on the guest list. It'll be fantastic.
It will be.
And I'd like to come back again for some spooky stories.
Awesome. Yeah. Top man, thank you.